Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to MotorMotion E-Series. We are back with the Trak Racer TCR Cup to continue the Season 3 coverage. It's Round 7 as we begin the Oceanic League, or leg of this season. We've got Bathurst today. It's going to be a fantastic race, a familiar place. We're back in Australia. And then, of course, Round 8 will be at the Zuka. So the Oceanic leg, 2 races to go in the penultimate round. Now will be a 20-lap race for each lobby at the legendary Mount Panorama. It is fair to say that this is holy ground here. 86 years of history at this fantastic circuit. The Bathurst 1000, the Bathurst 500, the Intercontinental GT Challenge coming here too, as well as, of course, the Supercars event. Those 6.2 kilometer circuit, 23 corners of bravery required for all the drivers, and it's going to come down to this. We do have a potential tie-up for the team's title this round. The Drivers' Championship still looking a little bit open, but we shall see exactly what happens. We've got both Lobby 1 coming up for you and Lobby 2 tonight, so buckle in, strap on, get the barbecue out, and get ready because we're about to go racing here. First of all, let's go to our slides. Rightio. Well, back in the commentary booth once again, myself, George Cooke, joined by the legendary Nick Pautasso and our pit lane reporter, Andrew Scott. Gentlemen, welcome in. It's going to be a fantastic race here at Bathurst today. We've got a whole bunch of exciting racing to go. So let's see what happens, shall we?
Yes, absolutely. G'day, George. G'day, Ando. G'day, everyone. Joining us here on the MotorMotion E-Series live stream, the premiere stream for this round 7 of the Trak Racer TCR Cup. And I'll tell you what, we're coming back home. We are back home. It is Mount Panorama. I mean, what else is there to say, George? It's a great track. It's legendary as in itself for all motorsport categories. Unfortunately, at the end of 2024, we'll be seeing the end of the TCR Championship, the International Championship, at the conclusion of 2024 before they move on to Sydney Motorsport Park next year. So it'll be the last time you'll see the TCR cars and the Internationals racing at the legendary circuit. But for now, we have the online version, which is our Mazda 3 Group 4s for the TCR Cup. And Ando is hanging around in the pit lane, or he might be traveling around. He might be getting on a rental bus going up the top of the hill on a couple of occasions. But what have you got for us, Ando, for this exciting event?
Yeah, g'day guys, g'day viewers. Yeah, I've grabbed a slab of VB and a walkie-talkie from the pit lane, and I'm heading up the mountain right now. So I'm headed to Reed Park. I'm going to camp there with some of the campers and the reprobates, and I will be reporting from across the top of the mountain today. So really looking forward to it. It'll be really good to see how these Mazda 3s get out of the cutting and make their way across the top. I believe you can go pretty flat from the cutting all the way to Skyline. So that's going to be really exciting to watch.
Oh man, you've chosen the right place to go and traverse, because that's going to be very exciting to see these cars handle themselves around there. As I understand that the tyre wear is going to be an interesting factor in today's race, so we're very much looking forward to seeing how everyone can get up, across and down the hill. So many fantastic corners here. I'm so excited for this race today. And the race today, of course, it's round 7 at Mount Panorama, not round 6 as it says on the board there. 20 laps in the afternoon. All racing tyres are permitted, with the medium tyre today being mandatory. So you've got to get that mandatory done, and then you can go on any tyre that you want. We'll talk about strategy in a few moments' time. Tuning prohibited as always, and brake bias though will be allowed, so that'll be something that will be probably used to good effect here, I do suspect. Of course, this beautiful track, 6.2 kilometers, that's 3.8 miles for anyone over in Europe who wants to, or in America who wants to compare the miles distance. 23 corners of pure racing perfection here, in my opinion. It is fantastic. We are looking forward to it very much. Strategy is going to be important, and it seems like a short race with only 20 laps, but these are well over 2-minute laps here at this 6.2 kilometer circuit. So let's see how we go. First of all, we're going to be going to Lobby 1, then we'll be going to Lobby 2. So let's get into it, because qualifying results have just come in, and Nick will take us through to see what's happened in Lobby 1.
So qualifying has been set for round 7 in Lobby 1. It is going to be another super sub joining us here for the Trak Racer TCR Cup. We had One Ivan Hamza in round 2, and now we have Robert Foster joining the Me Cougar driver development squad, replacing the man Ando Scott in that lucky 270s. So getting all the power, getting all of the fire going on in that Me Cougar car, and getting all that momentum to help his teammate Mick Hill secure that team's championship, hopefully by the end of this round. It'll be very close to see how it all ends up. Luke Stone for Lightning Motorsport, that's probably his best qualifying in P2. Matthew Johnson as well. So very good qualifying by Stone and Johnson. Nick Pfaff down in 4th place, and as we said, Mick Hill down in P5. Mark Pacheco for PCR Racing in position 6, and Rob Jacobs rounds up the top 7 for Hoon Corp Esports. So going to be some nice, interesting battles in that mid-pack there. Shane Addard, lead Kung Fu driver in position 8. Jeremy Crow for PCR, and Troy Britnell rounding up the top 10 with Colin Fee and Morgan Davey down the order again. So as we've seen over the past few rounds, he hasn't made qualifying. The car had a couple of little gremlins that have caused that car to not actually get onto the track. So he'll be starting well down the order, 12th and last place, with the missing drivers in Matthew Hatton for Juice Motorsport and Lewis Atkinson for Hoon Corp Esports. So that's a big name that's lost tonight. Lewis Atkinson, well, would have been very excited to see what he could do around this track. But it is time, gentlemen, to get ourselves underway. But before we do let us know who you are predicting to win this race. Will we see the Super Sub carry on that momentum of the other Super Sub that was brought out in round 2? Will we see Morgan Davey yet again come from the back of the field and work his way up towards the front, just like he did last time out at Daytona? Or will we see a new name come up on top? Do let us know in the chat. But gentlemen, I am ready to go, and the mountain is calling.
It certainly is. And a quick mention just before we get started. I know we're all really eager to get out on track. I do want to mention that Shane Attard here, it is his last race with Kung Fu Racing. He's been a super sub for my team, jumping in from Scarborough Motorsport, now Astor Racing, and he's done a fantastic job. So just an on-stream thank you for Shane Attard for jumping in when we had a need, and that will be Shannon Jones back in for the final round in his car. So let's go on track, because we are set to go racing here at Bathurst for round 7. So it is 3 lights, it is 4 lights, it is 5 lights. The timer is waiting, the false grid star awaits, and we are away. The cars roll off the grid. There's a big backup at the back of the field. Looks like Morgan Davey went into the back of potentially one of the Hassel One Motorsports cars. We shall see, but through does Robert Foster go, and he'll have the outside line in and up the hill for the first time on Mountain Straight, and it's going to be going side by side. You'd love to see this at the beginning of a race. Luke Stone, a good start from him. He's holds on to P2. It might even be a P1 as they head through Griffin's Bend for the first time. One of my favorite corners on the track. Such a tricky place. A lot of lack of grip on the outside. Will Foster hold it though? He does so, but he's going to lose the position anyway, because the inside line is just so superior in Griffin's Bend. Up we go to the cutting for the first time. Luke Stone in the lead from Robert Foster, from Matthew Johnson, from Nick Pfaff, from Mick Hill, who's had a decent start too. Mark Pacheco in P6, Rob Jacobs, the lead Hoon Corp driver in P7, followed by Jeremy Crow for PCR. Through up the hill, now we go. Quarry is done. Into Frog Hollow we go. This is my favorite part of the circuit. So difficult to get right. Robert Foster is falling slightly off the back of Luke Stone, who's had a really good run through there. Into McPhillamy, and now down towards Skyline, down the hill for the first time of these 20 laps. Robert Foster looking strong still. Behind him, Matthew Johnson and Nick Pfaff, all single file through here. There's no place to go side by side. You want to be full power on the exit and down the hill. Otherwise, you're going to be in all sorts of trouble. Now, Forest Elbow for the first time. That's Robert Foster getting a really good run into Forest Elbow, and a good exit as well. Luke Stone not having the greatest run through that part of the track. Now flat out all the way down the longest part of the circuit, through Conrod Straight. Another personal favourite at this track, and into the chase we will be going for the first time in a few moments. Luke Stone, what a start from him, P2 to P1, and that means Robert Foster's got a little bit of work to do in this race for Me Cougar, the super sub, doing a super job at the moment, but he's got some contenders with a lot of experience around him, and that it goes for the same for Matthew Johnson in 3rd place, followed by Nick Pfaff into Murray's for the first time now. Big time braking here, get it slowed down, get it turned in, ride a little bit of curve if you're brave, but be careful, it'll compromise you on the acceleration. And that is going to be our first lap at Bathurst for round 7 and lobby 1. There goes the 200 board, don't need it, who cares? Everyone's braking a little bit later than that anyway, and Luke Stone will lead us through and up the mountain straight once again.
Great start there by Luke Stone, going around the holding the car around the outside, going into the inside through Griffin. So very, very brave for Luke Stone to hold it. Robert Foster tried to hold it around the outside. On the opening lap on cold tyres, it is a little bit tricky, but the outside line does work. You have to get the car well ahead of the nose of the opposition car in front of you to really get the traction down a little bit quicker. But in this case, Robert Foster was just behind him, and unfortunately couldn't make that move stick. So he has to settle down for P2, but not much has changed within the top 8 minus the top 2. We want to, and also want to go back as well. We did have Morgan Davey that was caught up in that opening start. It looks like he did get caught up with one of the Kung Fu drivers that got a bit of a false start. So a little bit of a deja vu for Kung Fu Racing with their false starts in this. I think Morgan Davey had to take to the grass, and he looks like he lost a lot of time there. I don't think he lost too much time. He is hanging on to the back of this train, and it is quite a big train as well of cars as they're coming down through Skyline for the second time. This is a beautiful section here. If you haven't been to Bathurst before, this section of the track is absolutely marvelous. You can see the steepness of the cars going down here. You're just rolling the cars, dabbing the brakes, getting around there, then through the dipper. Man, the cars just fly over that. And it's coming into Forest Elbow. This whole section I really love so much. And there's a big accident there. It looks like some contact or maybe a relocking on the car of Shane Addard in car 22, so it did 72. Looked like he locks the brakes there, and he actually was facing the wrong direction going to Forest Elbow. And here comes Morgan Davey as we're just broadcasting. Got a bit of a bad start, had to take to the grass, but he's coming through the pack. He's got one driver. Can he get a second one into the braking zone, into the chase? Around the outside, Colin Fee's just going to hold the inside line, blocks it from Morgan Davey. Very good defensive driving there by the Kung Fu driver, but very unfortunate there for Shane Addard. And unfortunately for him, that must be some front splitter damage for the Kung Fu driver, so not the way he wants to end his venture for Kung Fu Racing tonight.
Certainly not. No, it looked like he locked the rear brakes. Car got away from him. Front turned in. Oversteer moment straight into the barrier. Well, that can happen at Forest Elbow. And once you do that, it will indeed be damaged. So very unlucky for Shane Attard early on in this race. And yes, I think it was him as well that had... and actually, I think it might have been Colin Fee who had the clutch go again. So as much as I wanted it to be something that wasn't related to the car's mechanics, unfortunately, it does look like that clutch has just got a few problems. So nonetheless, we'll take a look at that and get ready for round 8. And it looks like Morgan Davey is making that move out on Colin Fee. Gets it done beautifully before Griffin's Bend, and up the hill he will go into P9 already after starting last. That's a pit stop there for Shane Attard. Meanwhile, at the top of the grid, Luke Stone still driving away with things. Robert Foster still in his tow, and the gap back to Matthew Joynson is starting to evolve just that little bit as well. We're still expecting to have some updates from our pit lane reporter shortly about who's on what tyre at the beginning of this race. Nearly a moment there, took a little bit of grass on the inside line, did Luke Stone, but through McPhillamy they will go once again. Nick Pfaff in P4, and then Mick Hill still holding on to his rear wing. A bit of a gap starting to evolve between Nick Pfaff and Mick Hill. Pacheco is right in the slipstream of Mick Hill currently, as a couple of packs maybe starting to slightly evolve at the moment. I think Nick Pfaff has just gotten his way out of the slipstream range of Mick Hill. It's still relatively close, but I think that is just over a second. Might not be after they get through Forest Elbow. We shall see. That is the wall, though, so there is definitely slipstream range now for Mick Hill after Nick Pfaff makes a small mistake on the exit of Forest Elbow. Not ideal to do that just before the Conrod straight, that's for sure.
Yeah, it didn't get the line right. Obviously, the car has that natural understeer, so you know with the Group 4 machinery, with the front-wheel drive, front engine, especially with the Mazda Group 3s, they do produce a lot of understeers, so you really just couldn't pull the car up, unfortunately. Tried to get on the power just to compromise it, but then as we saw then, well demonstrated, just understeered into the wall, and not much he could have done. Thankfully, no damage on the 92, but we have... he's going to be holding on very nicely. He's just holding on to the back end of Matthew Joynson in position 3 in Black Friday, so he's very close to him. Mick Hill looks like he's a little bit of a cork in the bottle for Mark Pacheco, and Rob Jacobs right behind there. So as we go to our pit reporter, or rather our venture walker in Ando Scott, right up at Reed Park, how was the opening couple of laps, mate? The cars were looked neck and head and toe, neck to neck. They all looked like bumper to bumper. It looked absolutely wild at the top of the hill. What can you tell us from up there?
Yeah, it was great to watch that opening lap. I can confirm that they are absolutely flat stick all the way from the cutting up through across the top of the mountain. So it's riveting stuff to watch from up here. And I'm on the walkie-talkie already And I've found out that all the cars except one have started on medium tyres today. And you can probably guess who the soft runner is. He's got a good lead at the moment. But tyre wear and fuel saving is going to be an issue again. The Cooke with supercomputers have come up with an 11 medium, 9 soft as an optimal strategy. So we can expect a lot of these medium runners to go towards that 10 or 11 lap mark. But if anyone wants to try a two-stopper on the mediums, they're going to have to pit on this lap. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone decides to take that strategy and have a go at a two-stopper. And I can tell you I'm really concerned for Morgan Davey at the moment because although he started at the back and I thought maybe he might be a good candidate for driver of the day today, guys, doing a second last to first challenge, but he's really stuck in traffic and he hasn't been able to make much headway, although he is up to 9th, so he's slowly making his way through the field, but he is quite some distance off the lead at the moment, so his race might be done.
Yeah, well, he was showing the nose a little bit to Jeremy Crow. He's about to make the move right now as he gets onto Conrod Straight. It takes the inside line, which will lead to the outside line going into the chase there. But it looks like Jeremy Crow has done the right thing.
Someone's off.
He's given the position. And we have somebody off there. That is Matthew Joyson. What has happened to him? Oh, that is not good at all. Looked like he was flashing the headlights, the hazard lights. Big disaster there for the
well into Win Cup territory there, hasn't he?
He has.
Yeah, it looked like absolutely. It looks like a lost break there, mate. We'll have to wait and see if Ando will be able to let us know later on about what happened there. But it looked like it just must have missed his brakes or clipped the grass. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is if he must have just clipped the grass and he's actually just ventured off into the barrier. But to go that far, especially in these cars, George, I didn't think that was possible. I thought in a faster car it is, but the gravel trap, in theory, does need to do its job to slow the cars down, but maybe just the speed that he was taking when he clipped the grass or something happened, it just really sent him into the tyre barrier.
Yeah, it might have been some sort of hardware failure there. Maybe the brake pedal just got a bit loose on him. He wasn't unable to slow down because, yeah, that was very unusual. He was 90 degrees into the barrier. So that means that you haven't had a chance really to turn the wheel or to slow the car down. I get the feeling he's just gone straight on. If not, it would have been an almighty punt from someone else on the field. Maybe we can get Ando just to look through the field and see if there's anyone holding any damage just to rule that out. But I think that looks to me like a hardware failure of some kind or another.
I can tell you guys, he went absolutely dead straight on under braking into the chase.
Yeah.
So he was on his own and there was no one around him. So it looks like that's an equipment failure for sure, a brake failure on his part. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a real shame for Matthew Joynson, and he was in 3rd place and still with a good lead over Nick Pfaff, still holding on to Robert Foster as well, who's also just taken a very interesting line there on the exit of Forest Elbow. Yeah, he was aiming for the tree, the very famous tree that we all know, and where there are a bunch of memorials. Well, don't go that direction. We all know how that ends, unfortunately. Luckily, he does bring it back onto track, so not quite sure what happened there for Nick Pfaff, but certainly was not the line to be taking. But anyway, unfortunately for Matthew Joynson, that puts him right towards the back of the field, and so he'll be out of this race for the most part at the moment. We're 5 laps in, and we're looking to see some pit stops in the next 4 laps or so. Mick Hill seems to still be under quite a bit of pressure here. Mark Pacheco holding onto his rear nicely. That is Morgan Davey, though, making a huge amount of progress. See, he's up to P6 now, technically P7, but before Matthew Joynson unfortunately centered at the chase. But P6 at the moment for Morgan Davey, and he's right in the middle of this 4-way battle. Rob Jacobs rounding out this battle that we've got on screen right now.
Yeah, very close. And I would say as well, Nick Pfaff is going to be probably playing the team game yet again, obviously to try and help his teammate get up towards the front. As we see an onboard with Morgan Davey going on the inside of Mark Pacheco. Mark Pacheco just rolls off the throttle and says, yeah, this is not my battle, you go for it. You try and take P4 away, and I'm going to try and follow you through. So very sensible driving by the PCR team at the moment, with both Jeremy Crow and Mark Pacheco letting Morgan Davey go just for a little bit. Would love to see a little bit more aggression, especially with the PCR boys who are looking to move up the ranks in the team's championship. So if they really want to try and put the pressure to Mick Cooke, as we have Mick Hill that's clipped the barrier. Morgan Dave's going to go around the outside as they go through to the grade. Around the outside goes car 33, and he's done it. He's got the move done at the grade before McPhillamy Park. And a beautiful move there by Morgan David. That was all compromised by Mick Hill just clipping the barrier going up towards Reed Park. And that would have cost him a little bit of time there. Oh, it definitely cost him a position for sure, but he's going to hold the pack up between Mark Pacheco and Rob Jacobs. But that's a big kick. That is a big win for Morgan Davey. He's got clear air and he's got his teammate ahead of him. So it's all about the team game of what happens next. But a devastating blow for Mick Hill in car 3.
Yeah, Morgan Davey, we were just saying moments ago that we were a bit worried about him getting stuck in traffic. Well, he's managed to get through that like lightning. Let's go to Andrew Scott down the pit lane. Mick Hill, you might have heard a few things over the radio about that one.
Yeah, I stand corrected, guys. Morgan Davey is now looking absolutely good now for a podium challenge. And yeah, that was a close call for Mick Hill. I've just heard from the Cooke garage that fortunately no damage was incurred. So he's still looking okay. He's not too far off the lead, sitting in 5th place. And I can tell you right now, there'll be a little bit of a multi-2-1 scenario today if he finds himself up there with the super sub at some stage. So team's looking to maximise points for the obviously team title that's up for grabs.
Yes, and we do need to mention that as well. Cooke, at the end of this round with a good result today, will seal up the team's title 100%. There will be no one able to catch in the final round. So Cooke looking on the verge of taking that team's title away from everyone. And it'll be another TCR Trak Racer Cup season under their belt as team victors. So this is a critical round for them. I mean, even if they didn't get it this time around, they're in position to win it regardless. So it's a very good season it has been for Cooke overall, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Very consistent for Cooke. Obviously showing up when it comes to the TCR Championship, and this is what their drivers are made for. This series, TCR has been the bread and butter for Cooke. It's actually where we actually saw the debut of Cooke driver development for both Andrew Scott and Mick Hill, the formidable duo that is looking to go back to back to back for this TCR Championship. So 3 seasons, 3 official seasons, and 3 championships potentially going to the Cooke team. So the trophy cabinet is stacking up with drivers and teams championship, but hopefully they'll be able to help Mick Hill out to hope to potentially get himself up towards that front pack. And like Ando said, when Robert Foster is in that position where Mick Hill is a bit faster than him or right behind him, maybe it could be a couple seconds, 3 seconds, I think he will do the right job and pull back a little bit and let Mick Hill go through. But Mark Pacheco is the one that's on the charge at the moment. We can see here with the Astor boys, Nick Pfaff has got off the throttle to let Morgan Davey through. So that is 12th position all the way up to P3, ladies and gentlemen. What a start there's been for Morgan Davey after having some car technicality problems through the qualifying session that couldn't get the car on track on time. They actually got the car on track, but unfortunately with a minute to go until the end of the qualifying session, and yeah, he couldn't get a lap time in. But from 12th to 3rd, that's already a solid drive, and that's probably equaling his best drive going up towards the Daytona event last time out.
Yep, exactly. It's sort of echoing what we saw with Lewis Atkinson as well, who had a similar run. I think that was the well, certainly one of the earlier rounds, that's for sure. I can't remember exactly which one, but we've seen that a number of times from drivers, and this is not the first time we've seen Morgan Davey pull off a stint like this. So very, very good work from the Astor team. They've switched things around, so Nick Pfaff will drop behind into P4 for now. Morgan Davey will move up to P3 in this race, and he'll start his charge to get up onto the rear wing of Robert Foster for Cooke and Luke Stone, in which case that battle actually for a moment did get a lot closer, but it has cooled down once again. We'll go back up to the lead in short order. At the moment, we're on board with Rob Jacobs for Hooncore B Sports. His teammate Lewis Atkinson not here on the grid today. He's had a spout of flu, as I understand it, so he's unwell and not able to get into the car today, unfortunately for him. But nonetheless, Mick Hill has lost another position here to Mark Pacheco, who's looking very quick on the mediums at this stage of the race, but might be looking to pit earlier than Mick Hill. So Mick Hill might just be on that saving strategy again. We heard earlier about the supercomputer results for Cooke. So I think there might just be a difference in strategy execution going on here as well. Still not sure if he's holding any damage from the clip on the barrier he made up through the cutting a couple of laps ago. But I don't think that'll be affecting him massively, even if he is holding that damage.
No, I think it was reported that there was no damage on Mick Hill's car, so he's clean, he's good to go. Lap 8 of 20. I think the best, I think what we're seeing so far between the top 2 in this race, Luke Stone and Robert Foster, I mean, this is a battle we haven't seen. It is closing up a little bit on the mini-map we can see on the right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen. Between those two cars, it is closing a little bit, so I think Robert Foster is slowly getting himself up towards the back end of car 53 on Luke Stone's rear bumper. And then we will be looking to have a look at some pit stops coming through shortly. If he comes into the pit lane, looks like they're all staying out there, so they're all going to go one more lap. Potentially, whether they're on the soft tyres, they're going to go for that 9-lapper and then 11 laps on the end, or it maybe go half and half, go 10 and 10. For some drivers, it could be done. For others, maybe not, including myself. I'll probably only be able to do 6 and the rest on my medium stints. But it looks like Luke Stone and Robert Foster are holding their own in position 1 and 2, and I think we'll give full credit to Luke Stone as well. I mean, he's yet to score a victory here tonight, or here in this championship. So potentially, back home at Mount Panorama, taking a victory, that'd be a nice way to end off a very good debut season here at MotorMotion.
Yep, exactly right. And while that's all evolving at the front of the grid, we've had this battle here, Jeremy Crow versus Troy Britnell. Jeremy Crow did just make his way past at held corner on Troy Britnell. He's now solidly in the slipstream. Might be a little bit of battle evolving here. This is the battle for P8 as it stands right now. And yeah, we'll see exactly what happens up the grid in a few moments. Looks like things are still pretty stable, and I agree, like you and me, Nick, we'd be doing about 4 laps or 5 laps on the soft tyres, but to get to 10, I think based on what we've been told, you can do 9. You have to stretch things out quite significantly, really look after the tyres, especially over the top of the hill and going down the hill as well. So if they can get to 8, we might see some pit on lap 12. If they're on the soft tyre, we might be seeing them pit this lap. So that's going to be Luke Stone. We'll go back to him in a few moments' time, but the mediums should be out there till about 11 laps. So we'll just see how far people can actually take things today. So the battle, as we said before, is getting tighter and tighter. Robert Foster has found a lot of time in this previous lap, and I get the feeling Luke Stone's tyres are right at the end of their life, and these mediums have well and surely crossed over. So it's going to be the outside line there for Robert Foster. They're going to go side by side through the kink of Conrad straight into the braking zone, and there you go, tyre difference, and pulls right in front of him, says, nope, that corner is mine 100%. On the entry, the apex, and the exit. Thank you very much. Robert Foster goes ahead up into the lead of this race. He will pull aside. Luke Stone will pull into the pit lane because he's on the soft tyre. 9 laps done. That's the right amount that you need to get done. And he has managed to hold up Robert Foster for just a little bit of time. So that will work in his favour for the remainder of the race. Question is, will Robert Foster be able to put in some really good lap times here with clean air ahead of him on the medium tyre for the next couple of laps before he also comes into his pit stop? He will, of course, be on the soft tyres at the end, so he will be faster initially in comparison to Luke Stone. This will be a great battle, and a battle that's evolving very, very nicely at the moment. Everyone else staying out, of course, because as reported, everyone else is on the medium tyre still.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was a very, very cheeky there by Robert Foster there, just holding that inside line, and we actually saw Luke Stone had to dab on the brakes and just pull into the pit lane, because obviously Robert Foster, by no fault of his own, was holding that inside line, thinking that Luke Stone was going to go around the outside of Murray's, but he actually came into the pit lane. But it was very cheeky there, and very exciting to watch there for Luke Stone. But he is getting off those soft tyres, running the mediums to the end. 11 laps on these mediums. And what can you tell us? Like, what are the crew chief telling you down in the pit lane? What were the tyres like coming off Luke Stone's car? How worn were they?
Yeah, they've just taken off the front right, guys, and it is virtually gone. It is down to the canvas. It was fully red as he came in. So into the chase there, while he was alongside Robert Foster, he would have had absolutely no braking ability whatsoever. So I'm not surprised at all that he yielded there and let Foster through into the chase. But he's now going to jump on the mediums, and he's going to have to get 11 laps out of them. So his day is not over yet, and he's going to have to do some serious tyre preservation just to make those mediums last 11 laps too.
Yeah, well, if the supercomputers are saying 9 soft, 11 mediums, I think, well, we did see there demonstrated very clearly by by Luke Stone, that his tyres were on the brim and on the rim. So potentially maybe his medium tyres could be in a similar position. So if it is in a similar position, he might not actually be able to challenge for the win. He might be fighting towards the back end of the podium here, George. So Luke Stone's got Shane Addott, who did come into the pit lane after an unfortunate incident right at this corner before Forest Elbow, and going onto the back straight as we have Morgan Davey coming into the pit lane. 2% fuel. So you could definitely see Morgan Davey was absolutely revving the guts of that Mazda 3. We saw Luke Stone come in with 24%, but Morgan Davey 2%. We talk about a man on a charge, George. He was absolutely flying.
Yeah, and it looks like he was probably using that either on the straights and certainly up the hill as well. On the downhill, of course, you can save a lot of fuel. You can let the car sort of roll all the way down. But that's a big fuel deficit there for Morgan Davey. He has used a lot of it to get past the cars and make positions, and only time will tell whether or not it's going to work out for him in this. We imagine he'll be going pretty quick as well, but he's managed to make half distance on a tank of fuel, so he'll probably go full fuel once again and then just go absolutely ham. He will fall, of course, behind Luke Stone. We're on board with Luke Stone at the moment. He's chasing Shane Attard. Needs to get this position as soon as possible. I'm not quite sure, but I think Shane Attard is now on the medium tyre again. Don't think he changed those over to a soft compound, but we'll jump down to pit lane reporter once again. Can you confirm what the tyre is for Shane Attard in this battle as we continue to watch on board and there as they go up the hill?
Yeah, he did pit for damage early in the race because as we saw there going into Forest Elbow under braking, his car forgot that Forest is actually a left-hand turn, not a right-hand turn. And he did sustain damage, but he pulled into the pits and he did not change tyres or take fuel. Maybe he took a splash of fuel, but he's on soft tyres now, and or maybe he did change onto softs, but he's going to have to pit again shortly because he's low on fuel, whereas Luke Stone, I think, is good till the end of the race. So they're not actually battling. They're not actually battling for net position here.
No, they are not. No, not at all. But at the moment, I think this is more of a that was a big impact on the curb there for Luke Stone. This is impacting Luke Stone race because he is held up in traffic. So having a soft runner ahead of you when you're now on the medium tyre, it's sort of evening out the pace difference between these two. And also, Andrew, what are you saying about the Kung Fu racing car? Are you saying the car doesn't know lefts from rights? Nonetheless, it was indeed a right-hand maneuver for the car. Just a bit of unintended induced oversteer moment as the car sort of gets very light at that part of the circuit. It's a tricky corner to get right because you're coming straight out of the right-hander down the hill from the dipper, and the track then drops away from you. Don't want to lock up the ABS or anything like that, and unfortunately Shane Attard just got it all wrong. We've got a number of people in the pits now. Robert Foster, Nick Pfaff, Mark Pacheco, Mick Hill and Rob Jacobs all switching off from their medium tyre. Mick Hill is the biggest fuel saver out of all of them. Robert Foster was pretty close, but 10% of fuel in the car for Mick Hill is very good. Troy Britnell jumps in, Jeremy Crow jumps in, Colin Fee jumps in. They're all jumping in, so literally the entire field jumping into the pit lane at the moment. And this will release Luke Stone. He has now had Sir Did, so that's Shane Attard coming in to the pit lane as well, so the fuel was the big constraint for him, and Luke Stone will take the lead. We got Matthew Joynton back into things, but I don't think this is a relative position here because of that accident he had earlier on.
No,
it would be amazing if he
come into the pit lane. Absolutely. Well, he did come into the pit lane, change the tyres, fix the damage up, put a little splash of fuel in, and I think he's gone for a very fast stint towards the end. I think he's on the soft tyres now, and he's going to go on another set of soft tyres. So potentially throwing in some fastest laps there as well, demonstrated a 2-minute 11.851 as the fastest lap of this race here in Lobby 1 for the Trak Racer TCR Cup. We have done our round of pit stops. Everyone's got off the softs, and everyone's gone off the mediums and onto the softs. Luke Stone is the only man on the medium tyres in that front pack. Can he defend from the likes of Rolls can hardly in Robert Foster? Morgan Davey is going to be one that's going to be the man on the charge. He did have a little bit of he had a lot less fuel going into the stop prior, so he's down on numbers, but he is just ahead of Mick Hill in position 5. Mark Pacheco, Rob Jacobs and Nick Pfaff 787 in the top 8. So great start. So a great way to start our Oceanic series here at Mount Panorama. Beautiful scenery. The sun is out. The city is ablaze. The track and the city are in welcoming arms of our Trak Racer TCR boys, and they're here to put on a show. And it's going to be a very close end to this race with 7.5 laps to go. Less than 8 laps to go to the end of this race. Robert Foster can see Luke Stone ahead of him in the distance. He has to get past Matthew Joynton, but then he's got one more car. So when does he make the move? We'll find out very shortly.
We will. Yeah, we're not biased at all. You know, we keep singing the praises of Bathurst. We're totally not biased here. It's beautiful territory. You know, Italians wouldn't call Monza a beautiful country, of course. You know, it's just, you know, everyone just agrees that Bathurst is the best place to come racing. Anyway, we digress. We continue to move on. But it is.
It's a shame that you don't. It's a shame you don't have Hampton Downs or Pukekohe on this, because otherwise you'd be frothing over that.
Oh yeah, you can just imagine a season of racing where it's all Kiwi and Australian tracks, and it would just be awesome. There's a few tracks in New Zealand I'd like to have seen in the calendar as well, but unfortunately they do not exist in the game, sadly. Maybe one day, some of these alternative tracks will be given the respect they deserve and be included. Anyway, we continue to digress. This has been a key pit stop here for Robert Foster. Has lost a bit of time and to Luke Stone, and that's natural. That's what we were expecting to see. But of course, he'll be on the soft tyre now. So really, it's the question is, can Luke Stone hold on to the lead of this race? There are 7 laps to go, and Luke Stone has already lost a little bit of time to Robert Foster at the beginning of this stint. He's got a decent gap to manage, but he's going to have to manage it very, very well. Morgan Davies still on a charge as well, and on the soft tyres, I think that man is going to be quite the weapon to contend with. So Luke Stone has got to find a way to be fast and yet be conservative on those tyres, and be fast on those tyres now that he is on the medium, in comparison to these 2 behind him that are going to be moving rather rapidly towards his rear bumper. But as we always say, it is one thing to catch up, and it is a totally different thing to overtake, especially at a circuit like this. There's only really a few places to do it. You've got essentially the Chase, you've got Murray's Corner, you've got Hell Corner, and then final one would be Griffin's Corner. But Griffin's Bend is probably the most risky place to do the overtake out of those 4, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Griffin's, you have to really rely on the car ahead of you to, literally give you some space, because the turning point going into Griffin's, you do have to kind of turn the car into the corner before you actually get to the corner. It's before you actually go around it. It's a very narrow entry. So when you do see cars going side by side, if you know that you are going to make that move set in stone, you have to make sure you get well over a car's nose ahead of the opposition driver, because that will mean it is your corner, it is your right, and you'll be able to take that inside line, because there's a little bit of a gradient on the inside there, as we see this massive battle pack from P5, Mick Hill, Rob Jacobs, Nick Pfaff. And but it is a very risky part of the track to go for a move, as it does narrow up on entry and then it widens up on exit. But anyone can do it. We have seen it in the past. We did see it on the opening lap with Luke Stone making the move on Robert Foster, and we'll have to wait and see. But one man I'm a little bit disappointed with at the moment, Nick Pfaff, in P7. So he's lost a lot of time there. He was right behind Morgan Davey before the pit stops. He's gone from P4 to P7. Obviously, this battle pack is super close, as we can see. Rob Jacobs and Nick Pfaff. Even Mark Pacheco's up the road. He's not too far away as well. Not even Morgan Davey, but that's a lot of positions to lose at the end of your first stint.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Nick, sorry, Andrew, I was about to say, do you have any insights for us on what's happened to Nick Pfaff here?
Yeah, he's overfueled in the pit stop, but we go through a bold move through Griffins against Rob Jacobs. It pays off for him, but he's got a lot more fuel than the cars around him right now. So he's lost some positions, but he's actually going to be looking pretty good, because he's going to be able to absolutely wring the neck off his Mazda 3 now and get quite a bit more top end out of it than his opponents, because they're all going to be fuel saving still.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's probably adopting the Morgan Davey strategy, fill the car up to the max or just a little bit over and just go full send. So that looks like what he's doing at the moment. Looks like Rob Jacobs just missed the corner, so he missed the entry at Griffin's Bend, as we were just mentioning earlier. You have to try and get that corner right, because then it opens up an opportunity for someone behind you, and that opportunity went to Nick Pfaff in position 7 up to P6 and on the rear end of Mick Hill. So obviously Mick Hill running a little bit of the fuel number as well, but he is closing a little bit to Mark Pacheco as well as Nick Pfaff. So it is quite a fair way back from Robert Foster, is Mick Hill. So I don't know if there's going to be any multi-map 2-1 swapping between those two drivers just yet.
Yeah, we shall see. It's going to be an interesting one, but yeah, being able to wring the neck out of the car, especially on the straights, you can see with the slipstream as well. He's so much quicker than Mick Hill. Will he dive to the inside into the Chase? He tries it. But Mick Hill, beautifully timed on the brakes, brakes nice and late, gets off the brake nicely too, and hooks it directly into the apex. There was no gap there for Nick Pfaff to put his Mazda 3 into. There might be here at Murray's, but no. Once again, Mick Hill, I mean, we've seen Mick Hill's ability to defend. He's a very, very smart defender. He's really good on the brakes. Trail braking especially seems to be one of his specialties, and he gets it done so well. He just doesn't give those opportunities. He does often find himself looking at a wider line entry into the corners, and that does expose the opportunity for people to send it up the inside, but he's so rapidly off the brakes that he suddenly speeds up, and there's immediately no opportunity for someone to slide down the inside. So it's a fascinating style that Mick Hill has got, but that trail braking ability of his is basically a defensive masterclass that we see all the time, which is absolutely stunning, and it's certainly carried him well. It gives him so much extra speed in these cars and in all formats of racing that he is in, so it is fantastic to see a lovely three-way battle evolving. Now we've got to go to the top because Luke Stone, and we focus on so much other action around the grid, as is the way with racing at Bathurst. Luke Stone has got Robert Foster right on his rear wing, Nick. This is going to get very spicy.
Oh, absolutely. He's thinking of a move going into Skyline. It's not possible there, as the famous quote by Neil Crompton in the 2014 Bathurst finale and the final lap there. There's no room there going onto the inside of Skyline, but he's going to try and round up a move there. Luke Stone runs very wide on the exit of Forest Elvis, but this is going to give Robert Foster the perfect opportunity to just slingshot past him along this straight. Very fast straight. Remember, it is a public road here, but these cars are going to be well over exceeding 250 kilometers as they get right down towards the end of the chase there. Looking left, looking right. Where does Foster go? He goes to the right, hugs the inside line, takes the kink in. Luke Stone is going to try and outbrake Robert Foster. You can't outbrake Robert Foster, but he runs wide on the exit of the chase there. This gives Luke Stone an opportunity to go for a switchback, tuck right underneath that rear wing, go for the inside move. Robert Foster goes defensive, parks the car in the middle of the track there, and coming on the exit of Murray's Corner to conclude lap 15 of 20. Lap 16, here we go. 5 laps to go. Robert Foster is new race leader for car 270. Luke Stone, position 2, and Morgan Davey. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's not too far behind, and watch out for that Aston driver.
Yeah, he is right in the mix here, is Morgan Davey, and the battling that had obviously occurred was pretty short, but it's cost him a bit of time in that lap. 2:13.5 there for Robert Foster, and this super sub certainly acting like a super sub right now, and he's going to have to see if he can pull a gap on Luke Stone big enough that Luke Stone may just not be able to either catch, but also just to get Luke Stone involved in the battle with Morgan Davey. He'll be hoping that the gap evolves as a result of the battle that's coming up. Let's throw it to Andrew Scott, because this battle for the three at the top is a fantastic one. So let's get some insights on what they're looking like and their status in the car at the moment.
Yeah, it's very interesting, the fact that they're all together right now on track, because they've all three of them done completely different strategies. So Morgan Davey is on an absolute tear, folks. You can see there the fastest lap. He's done a 2-minute 10.7, and he's done numerous 2-minute 10 laps lately. So he's absolutely flying, but he has wrecked his front tyres. So his front tyres are going to be screaming for mercy from now until the end of the race. Whereas Robert Foster is now on the softs. He did 11 medium. He's only got to do 9 on the softs. His tyres are looking good. His fuel's looking good. And Luke Stone now, who's a little bit of a sitting duck now to Morgan Davey, is on the mediums, obviously, because he started the race on softs. So Robert Foster's the one looking good right now, folks. He's got the track position. He's got the tyres. He's got the fuel. He's looking good.
Looks like Morgan Davis is about to line up a move on Luke Stone. He's got the tyre advantage, but how long will that tyre advantage last? When does the crossover go between mediums and soft tyres? We'll find out very soon. But to conclude lap 16 of 20, can Morgan Davey get the move done to try and pursue Robert Foster for the lead of this race? He doesn't. He sticks right behind there. But again, you can see the understeer that Luke Stone is suffering on those medium tyres, and he's actually been on those tyres for quite a fair bit as well. So he's running the alternate strategy, or the faster strategy, with the softs at the front and then the mediums, the slow end to end the race. And there goes Morgan Davey up into P2 on lap 17 of 20. Now the quest is on with 4 laps to go to catch Robert Foster. Can he do it? Let us know in the comments below what you think. Can Robert Foster hold on to what is going to be an exciting victory, or will we see Morgan Davey throw a challenge with only a few laps to go? Will we see a last lap challenge? Who knows? Stay tuned for what's going to be an exciting finish.
Absolutely. So let's go to Andrew Scott again. So now that we have Luke Stone essentially out of the battle for P2 in this race as it stands right now, can you give us a little update on and some analytics on Morgan Davey versus Robert Foster? As you said before, Robert Foster's got the better situation, and Morgan Davey is really struggling on his tyres. But based on lap time, it seems like there might be a potential to get within range for Morgan Davey on Robert Foster.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think Morgan Davey might have spent those tyres. It's just cost him a little bit too much to come from the back of the field up until this P2 position right now. That he's not really going to be able to challenge now. His tyres on lap 17 are just about gone, would you believe? So that's how much it's cost him in fuel and tyres to get to this position. So he's going to struggle to hold on to P2, I'd say.
There we go. So that's going to be an interesting development at the end. And looks like Robert Foster at the moment, he is sitting not only in P1, but sitting in the box seat, ready to take a victory here, as we do have only 3 laps essentially to go in this race. It's been a fascinating one so far. Love to see the multiple strategies being executed. Of course, one has been executed. The one executed by Morgan Davey has been as a result of starting in second to last place, and what a drive back that has been all the way to P2 as it stands right now. But the question is are his tyres going to end up lasting throughout the remainder of this session? Looking around the grid, we've got Mark Pacheco in P4, Nick Pfaff in P5. He is chasing after the PCR car as best he can with a big fuel load on board, so he's able to use the revs as much as possible to get the most out of the car. Then Rob Jacobs in P6. Mick Hill, unfortunately, has been dropped by Rob Jacobs and Nick Pfaff. He was potentially up there looking to get into the top 5, but has not gone his well. Oh, he's had a mistake, hasn't he? Yeah, lap 15 at 2:18.8.
Yeah, the pit boss has reported to me that he did get a track limit penalty. I think it was the dipper. So very unlucky. It happens very rarely. I think he got the old 2.5 seconds at the dipper, guys.
Wow. Okay, so that's huge. There is only a couple of places where you can get a track limit warning, and the dipper is one of those. So that's really unlucky, and it always comes down to about half a centimetre is the difference between a penalty at the dipper and not. And it's one that you have to cut because you need to get the car turned in so you can get on the power sooner.
Yeah. Well, this is another area of the track as well. Yeah, the battle, the where we saw Mick Hill there, running the car right up against the wall, going up into the gully. That's also another place where you do get a harsh track limit penalty, but you do have to really maximize the width of the track to get it turned in. So it's a little bit harsh, the track limit penalties that you get around this track. I mean, the only noticeable track limit penalty you can do is if you literally just straight line the chase and you go back in time to the 1970s. So that would be the only time you get a track limits, and that's a proper track limits. But around this track, it's very harsh indeed. So, but the drivers have done their utmost best to keep the cars within the respective track limits. But unfortunately, for Mick Hill down in P7, lost a lot of time, and he's hoping that his P7 is enough to be able to just clinch the team's titles, with Robert Foster leading this race with only less than 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I get the feeling that with the P1 there for Robert Foster, he'll be bringing home enough points for the team to secure it. So I think Cooke are really on for the victory here in the overall team's title. We shall see. I'm sure Mick Hill will be wanting to get a couple of positions if he can, but it's looking less and less likely. Down in P8 is Jeremy Crow and then Matthew Joynson, who we're on board with right now. He had that mechanical failure earlier on, went straight on at the chase and ended up 90 degrees in the barrier facing the hotel. So not an ideal situation for him. Of course, then Troy Britnell, Shane Attard with a big penalty. So it looks like he's also cut the dipper just early on. So a race to forget at the moment for Shane Attard, and Colin Fee will be just behind him. He'll come through. He'll have the overspeed here, and the Kung Fu Racing team unfortunately having a poor day at Bathurst. But oh well, it is what it is. Still want to say a big thanks to Shane Attard for stepping into the team for the 5 weeks that he has been with us. A pleasure to have him. He's a really nice chap, really good on the strategy calls as well, been helping out the team, and just an overall great person to be around. But Robert Foster in P1, second to last lap here, gents, for Lobby 1. and this will be the second to last round, of course, as well, round 7. So we're looking to see if MotorMotion will be giving out a team's title championship trophy to me Cougar. I think it is. I think it's all said and done at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks very even for me Cougar to go for that three-peat. And we can just see that through the consistency of lap times. He's at a 2:12.4 compared to Morgan Davies 2:14.3. Wow, that's 2-second gaps that he's put on Morgan Davey on that last lap. And Luke Stone, 2:14.6. So he's kind of matching Morgan Davey. So I wonder if the crossover is happening right now between the mediums and the soft tyres. So maybe Luke Stone will start to close up on Morgan Davey, but might be a little bit too late for the man in the Lightning Motorsport 53. But Mark Pacheco holding on to P4. Nick Pfaff, this looks to be the only closest battle we are seeing on track here, and it's a battle for 4th place. Not on the podium, unfortunately, but it's going to help Astor Racing if they can get that second car. He's going to look for a move, late move there for Nick Pfaff. Doesn't get the car pulled, gets the car pulled up, thankfully not hitting the rear end of Mark Pacheco, the Spaniard flying high. Flying the Spanish flag very high for this round here at Mount Panorama and Bathurst. We're on the final lap, ladies and gentlemen. Robert Foster, Morgan Davey, Luke Stone, your podiums at the moment, but who will take out P4? Mark Pacheco versus Nick Pfaff as they go through Hell Corner for the last time. Let's see if we can go on board with the Astor driver in car 92 as he looks to go very close to try and round up P4 and get some solid points for Astor Racing to have any hope of getting themselves in that fighting position. Maybe not for the team's title, but at least for P2 in this team's championship. Coming through to Griffin's Bend for the last time. The car's tucking right underneath there, right on the curbing there. Get that gradient and hug the inside line as much as you can. There is Luke Stone. So Luke Stone is not too far ahead, so he must have dropped off a fair bit to Morgan Davies. So potentially this could be a three-way battle, but Luke Stone looks like he might just have the edge here. Going from here all the way down to Forest Elbow is single file racing. You're just lining yourself up before you get to the chase, onto Conrad and onto the chase for the last time. But Nick Pfaff is very close to the rear wing of Mark Pacheco in P4, and Luke Stone's not too far away, but I think Luke Stone might just have enough to hold on to P3, but this one is going to be going right down to the wire, George.
Yes, it certainly will be. Luke Stone's just starting to fall right back into the clutches of these two who are having an almighty battle currently. Down the hill we go, through the dipper for the last time for these cars. And I was going to say, that is way too short a line there into the Forest Elbow complex for Nick Pfaff, and he has hit the wall. That's where he needed to be good. Yeah, so he's, the poor wall there, I think, it's a bit unfortunate for them. Actually, this battle between sort of P2, 3, 4, 5 actually closed up a lot at the end of this race, but I don't think at this stage it's going to come of anything because they are all just a little bit too far away. So barring a major mistake from someone ahead of Nick Pfaff, I think this is going to be all set and done. Speaking of all set and done, through Murray's for the last time, 20 laps done here at Bathurst, round 7, the Super Sub taking home the victory here. Robert Foster, what a showing for me Cougar, and that victory there, I believe, has given me Cougar enough points to take the team's title. We shall see in a few moments' time. Morgan Davey still very close with Nick Stone, P2, P3 for them, rounding out the podium. And then Mark Pacheco does put it into 4th place ahead of Nick Pfaff, and the rest will come across the line. We'll go to our results in just a few moments' time. But Robert Foster, what a race that was for this Super Sub, coming in fresh and doing a really good job for me Cougar driver development. So let's head back over to the commentary booth and have a little look at the final results for race 1. Robert Foster took that victory for me Cougar, Morgan Davey P2, Luke Stone P3. It was a fascinating battle in the top 3, but Morgan Davey very impressed with that drive back that he's made today.
Yeah, absolutely. Gain a net total of 10 positions there for Morgan Davey, 12th to 2nd. Absolutely beautiful racecraft by Morgan Davey, just waiting patiently, waiting for the moves, obviously getting the help from a couple of the drivers, just backing out and saying that that's not the battle that they want to fight, because any battle you fight with Morgan Davey is always going to be a very hard slog. But it is Morgan Davey P2, Luke Stone yet again on the podium for Lightning Motorsports. What could have been for Luke Stone had he just maybe pulled a little bit more time in the opening stint on the soft tyres? Maybe he could have had a chance of fighting Robert Foster towards the end of the race rather than ending it on lap 15 going on to lap 16. So very unfortunate for Luke Stone in third place. Mark Pacheco, Nick Fath, Rob Jacobs, Mick Hill rounds up the top 7. So Mick Hill, again, a little bit disappointing there in round 7 for Mick Hill, finishing down in P7. So very unfortunate. Maybe just must have been tight fuel numbers for the Mini Cougar driver. Jeremy Crow, Matthew Joynson, after we saw on lap 4 going off down at the chase there with a hardware failure, and Troy Britnell rounding up the top 10 with Shane Addard and Colin Fee. They're both Kung Fu drivers, finishing out in 11th and 12th place, a day to forget for Kung Fu Racing. But it is time to award our driver of the day. I might get started here, and I think for me it could be the obvious one, but I think it might be different. So I think we'll wait and see. You do let us know in the chat who you think the driver of the day is. But for me, it's going to be Robert Foster, the super sub for me, Cougar Driver Development. Great racing, great strategy, waiting patiently, threw on the soft tyres at the end there and made the move. It's all set and done before the end of the race to getting himself his first victory back at MotorMotion E-Series. A welcome return for Robert Foster.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's a good call for driver of the day. For me, it is also going to be Robert Foster, super subbing in, having a really, really good race, showing that he's still got amazing form in these TCR cars. And yeah, what a day out for me, Cougar, and Robert Foster. So that's my driver of the day too, going to Robert Foster. I also will make one final mention of this. Yes, a day to forget for Kung Fu Racing, but not a 5-week stint to forget for Shane Attard. A big thank you from me to him for all that he's done, stepping in at short notice for the team and doing 5 weeks of racing on his return to the GT7 grid here at MotorMotion E-Series. So a big thank you to him. Honourable mention for me is going to go to Mark Pacheco, PCR, for holding on to P4 through that race. Very nice job. Let's throw it over to Andrew Scott for his thoughts on driver of the day as we count the votes.
Yeah, I'm going to give an honourable mention to Morgan Davey there. Obviously, a 2-minute 10.7. What an absolute flying fastest lap. That is hard to keep up with. But unfortunately, he paid the price tyre-wise, and he was doing 2-minute 15s at the end there. And would you believe, guys, he did the last 2 laps on a fully red front right tyre. So just to hold on to P2 was a feat for him. But from second last to second, well done, Morgan. And another honourable mention to Robert Foster, my super sub 2.0. He's killed it. He was under strict instructions from the pit wall to drive to a certain number to make those tyre and fuel numbers work, and he did it to perfection. So honourable mention to him. But my driver of the day, folks, has to go to my teammate, Mick Hill. It's you guys probably don't know, but he finished that race in absolute agony with a stomach complaint. So that would explain why he dropped down to P7, but he was raced to Bathurst Base Hospital and he had to have emergency exploratory surgery, and he's now in recovery. As you guys know, this race is broadcast delayed. So the good news is I've heard he's out of hospital, he's in recovery, and a quick shout out to you, Mick Hill, my teammate. Congrats. I think we've done enough for the three-peat. My driver of the day goes to Mick Hill.
Wow, Mick Hill. Well, mate, we did not know that, and we wish you the speediest of recoveries. That is super unfortunate to hear about, but we hope that you get well extremely soon. So there we go. We've got 2 votes for Robert Foster, 1 for Mick Hill. Let us know in chat who your votes are going to. We've got Lobby 2 coverage coming up for you in a few minutes' time. We're going to take a short 5-minute break, and then we'll be back for more Lobby 2 action here at the MotorMotion E-Series Trak Racer TCR Cup. We'll speak to you in a few moments' time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to round 7 here at the Trak Racer TCR Cup for MotorMotion E-Series. Give us a like and subscribe, of course, if you're enjoying tonight's coverage, and turn on those notifications so you know when we go live. We do have, for your viewing pleasure now, Lobby 2 coverage coming right up. By the way, we do also want to make a mention that Street to Track not able to field any drivers in the previous lobby. We have Lewis Atkinson, Matt Hatton, and Jason Oswald, and the Flying Dutchman himself, Steph Franson, not able to make it here to Bathurst for this round, so we will be going to another 12-car lobby for Lobby 2. Both lobbies, unfortunately, being 12-car lobbies this time, but nonetheless, we have seen some fantastic racing in Lobby 1, Nick, and now we're looking forward to a similar thing here in Lobby 2. Let's go straight to our qualifying results, which have just come up on the board for Lobby 2, and let's get things going.
Yeah, absolutely. So 12-man grid here tonight for Lobby 2 for the Trak Racer TCR Cup. So Lobby 1s have put on a show. It's time for Lobby 2 to step up their game and see what they can do in the place. And it is Matt Donetti taking his first pole position of the season for Hasselblad Motorsport, the man that came agonizingly close to taking his first victory at Daytona in the last round, almost just taking that victory away from Ando Scott, held on to P2. He said he was happy in the background. All the media talk was saying what could have been if he waited one more lap just to go for the move, but he said he was determined to give it a go, give it his red hot go, but regardless, he was happy that he got P2. But can he get that one step further? We'll find out at the end of this race. It is Dean van der Zand, the best qualifying for him as well. So whilst we saw a bit of a slump with CP Motorsports, they look like they're on the mend and moving up the field. And what a great position that is for Dean van der Zand for CP Motorsports. Mitch Collin as well is also his best performance to date. But I will say one thing, Mitch Collin and Mount Panorama, you put those two drivers together and he becomes unstoppable. So Mitch Collin is one for this track at Mount Panorama, and he's done himself a great job to get himself P3. Scott Taylor, Boris Blaznik, again, another great result for him to be in P5. Tony Griffin, Mark Hasseldine rounds up the top 7. So to have two Hassel 1 Motorsports inside the top 7 is a great start. Then we have Dave Chucky for CP Motorsports inside the top 10 for the first time. So great to see. Brett Allen for Wicked Awesome Racing, and Chris Patajak rounds up the top 10. Andrew Enst and Michael Daling rounding up our 12-man field. And as we said, the two drivers missing are the Street to Track drivers, and it could be a big championship blow for the Flying Dutchman in both Steph Franson. He is the championship leader coming into this round, but will his championship be under fire? We'll find out at the end of this round, at the end of this race, to see what the championship order is like. But gentlemen, before we get to the race, who are we thinking? This looks to be, I don't know, what could you call it? Would you be calling it the safe lobby, maybe the less alien lobby? But we do have some fast drivers in Matt Donetti, Dean van der Zand. I did say Mitch Collin has a bit of a soft spot for Mount Panorama. So who are we thinking? Who do we think tonight's going to give it a go, a red hot go for victory tonight?
Let's throw it to Andrew Scott first while I stop having a chuckle around less alien than the rest.
Yeah, I like Donetti, guys. He's put it on pole. We saw last week he can mix it with the big boys, and he knows how to drive this car now. He should have the strategy down pat, and I think he's going to be hard to beat from pole position.
Yep, I think that's a good call, and that's exactly what I was thinking as well. Matt Dernedy is going to be a really strong contender for Hassel 1 Motorsport in this race. But as you said before, Dean van der Zandt, Mitch Collin could bring a bit of a fight to him, certainly at the early stages of this race, and will depend on which tyre they're starting on as well. We saw Luke Stone start on the softs last time out, gave him that early advantage, but it didn't quite work out for him on the slower medium tyre towards the end of the race. Everyone else going for the reverse, so I suspect we'll be seeing a lot of medium usage early on in this race. We do also have to mention as well a little bit of news down from the paddock around Matt Dernedy. This will be his last couple of races with Hassel 1 Motorsport, so go to www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com, go to the news and articles section and have a little read, because there is a very familiar name, a new team returning for the Carrera Cup Season 2, which will be happening in a few weeks' time. Speaking of which, the Carrera Cup Season 2 is filling out on the grid. Divisions 1 and 2 all set and done, and we're very much looking forward to seeing that come on through very, very soon. So before we go onto the grid, because the cars are slightly delayed at the moment, we've got a quick advert to show you all before we get started. And as soon as that's done, we'll be on the grid and going racing. So here we go.
Racks on racks on racks on racks.
Here at Sterling Parts, we've got power steering racks. We do racks for Ford, Holden, Toyota, Mazda, Hyundai, and heaps more.
Power steering racks are a super important part of your car. Do you know symptoms of a bad rack?
If you are having trouble steering, this could be from low power steering fluid, or you could even have a leak in the system. If you hear a noise when you're steering, this could mean the rack has not been lubricated or is starting to go dry.
And the worst one is if you smell burning oil, get out of there. Stop, drop, run.
So if you need a new rack, Sterling Parts has some great racks for you at www.sterlingparts.com.au, your one-stop aftermarket specialist.
Righto, so that is the sponsor, Sterling's Parts, of the Carrera Cup coming up, so stay tuned. We will have some more information about that in future rounds. Nonetheless, for round 7, Lobby 2 is about to get started because the cars are on the grid. So let's jump out there and get Lobby 2 started. Here we go. 3 lights are on, 4 lights are on, 5 lights are on, and it'll be Matt Dernedy from Dean van der Zandt from Mitch Collin. That's a jump start for Boris Blaznik. I know at the back, that's another war car at the back of the grid. We'll find out who that is in a few moments' time. And it's a decent start for Matt Dernedy off the line, inside line there for GLR Scotty. He's already got up ahead of the Collin Racing team leader in Mitchell Collins. And Mitchell Collin already losing a position early on in this race. Scott Taylor now up into P3. Tony Griffin in P5 for Mad Turtle Racing. Mitch Collin might be looking for a move up the inside into Griffin's Bend at the beginning of this race to retake that P3 position from Scott Taylor. It's going to be an opportunistic move, but he might just get it done under braking. He will have the inside line. Scott Taylor will have to concede the position, drops back into P4 in this race early on, but Matt Dernedy, what a start he's had, gets through Hell Corner nice and cleanly, and now up the hill we go to start off Lobby 2. Stunning work there by Mitchell Collin to retake the podium position away from Scott Taylor, but I don't think Scott Taylor has finished his charge yet after that top spot. He wants to be there. He wants to get back to the winning ways that he showed us at Watkins Glen, where he took winning position. He's got an opportunity to do exactly that in this lobby. The question is, can he find a way back around the Collin Racing Team car directly ahead of him? Tony Griffin, the number 62, just in behind, dropping back just ever so slightly, but still not a bad start. Boris Blaznik leading a pack with Padajak and Michael Daly. Then it is Hassel 1 Motorsports, Mark Hasseldine in the number 16 and P9. Andrew Enks has moved up to P10. Brett Allen was the one who had the false grid start there, unfortunately. And then P1 Skippy, Dave Chucky, having an awful time out at the dipper at the beginning of this race. He's cost himself a huge amount of time and an early slipstream advantage from the rear of the field. Matt Dernedy leads us away from Dean van der Zandt down the chase. Down the Conrad Straight we go, I should say, and heading towards the chase. And this will be close to the end of lap 1. It's a decent start for Matt Dernedy. He's going to have to find a bit of extra pace. As we've understood it, Dean van der Zandt may well be on the softer compounder tyre. And this is very much echoing the start of the race that we saw with Robert Foster on the medium tyre, early pressured by Luke Stone. Now we've got Matt Dernedy potentially on the medium tyre under pressure from Dean van der Zandt, who we suspect is on the softer compounder tyres. A very good start of the race for everyone except for Dave Chucky and Brett Allen, who got that false grid start. Across the line we go to finish out lap 1 and begin lap 2, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Great call there. But yeah, I did see the mechanics there for CP Motorsports. They were on the medium tyres initially, but then they just changed to the last minute, right before the 5-minute warning. They changed those softs to those mediums to soft tyres. So watch out for Dean van der Zandt to come through the pack and try and put some pressure on Matt Donetti. But we know Dean van der Zandt is very strong when it comes to tyre preservation. He hasn't shown too much in the Mazda Group, the Mazda 3 Group 4 machinery, but if we know one driver that's very good with tyre wear, it is Dean van der Zandt, and is looking to put all the pressure on the race leader, Matt Donetti, the Jim Beam Honey sponsored Mazda 3, riding up in position 1. I was going to say as well, it's a very good start there by Michael Daly whilst you're calling that opening lap. He went from P12 to P8, but now that P8's taken away by Mark Hasseldean, so he's just sitting in 9th place. But very solid start there. I think Mitch Collin must have jumped the start a little bit, maybe just by a fraction of a second, but he got back up into P3 with a very nice move there, right at Griffin's Brent, send the move, an authoritative move there on Scott Taylor to get back P3, but the top 4 stays the same, it stays as it is. A couple of movers and shakers there, as we do see a little bit of latency on the mobile of Mitch Collin in 3rd place, but looks all
that's
to be set in
in the
stone
wall.
now.
No, it's not. It's
That's
Blazenic in the wall.
Oh, we just saw that at the glimpse of our eyes there. So Boris goes from 6th to 9th there. We'll cut to our reporter Ando Scott, who's hanging about at McPhillamy or down towards Skyline from what I last heard. But it looks like he's just come through. It looked like it was right in front of him as well, Ando. So can you confirm what happened there to Boris?
Yeah, that was just out of my view. I'm at Skyline now, but somewhere down there towards the dipper, he's collected the wall, I think. I'm not sure if there was another driver involved, but he's got front aero and front suspension damage.
Ouch.
So look for Blazenic to pit this lap, I'd say.
Yeah, that was a huge amount of damage. He went 90 degrees into that wall, didn't he?
Yeah, he's very similar to what Shane Addard did. It was the rear end caught out Shane Addard going to Forest Elbow. So I wonder if the same as well, or maybe it was just a little bit of understeer, maybe too much entry speed going into at the end of Skyline going into the dipper. So very unlucky for him, and it was looking like a good start as well. So he's not had the form. He's been telling me off the stream and off air that he has really been struggling to adapt with these cars, but he's trying his best. He's trying to get the best results for Wicked Awesome Racing, but unfortunately for him, it's not really putting himself in the right positions at the moment, as we have Scott Taylor run underneath the rear wing of Mitch Collin. He's actually doing the old bump draft going up Mountain Straight into Griffith Spencer. Interesting tactic here for Scott Taylor. I wonder if he's just thinking about not making a move just yet. He thinks that obviously he wins out on the tyre preservation and probably fuel compared to Mitch Collin. And we know that in the past as well, George, that Scott is a very strong driver when it comes to tyres and fuel. And I think he's kind of doing the same thing. He might not be able to challenge for the victory just yet, but it is the early stages.
Certainly is. His strategy will be right up there with the best of them. Today especially, I know that he loves this place at Bathurst. He's got speed around here. I'm very impressed with Mitch Collin, though. As you said before, you put this man in any car at Bathurst and he is just a fan. He is a fan and he is fast as well. And this will be a fantastic result from him if he is able to bring home a podium position. Absolutely full send. So he knows this track really, really well, like the back of his hand. That allows him to, get those angles that he needs to. Miss the apex there, though, at Forest Elbow, so it'll be a little bit compromised down the straight. But with Scott Taylor taking it fairly easy at the moment behind him, I think Scott will just be quite happy to take it nice and easy, jump into the slipstream, save a bit of fuel, save a bit of tires, don't make any, adverse moves at this stage of the race, and that's going to be a key way to win. At the end of the day, Bathurst, honestly, sometimes just comes down to the fact of who's made fewer mistakes across the race.
Yeah, and from what I can see in the minimap as well, it doesn't look like Boris Blazenic actually came into the pit lane, so he's still out there. So he's still negotiating the 6.213 kilometre circuit. That is a beautiful mountain panorama located in the rural town of Bathurst in New South Wales. But he's still circulating down the back there, and he's not really, obviously he's not gaining any time on these drivers as we see a move for Brett Allen. Climbs the curbs there, pushes Michael Daly wide. Unfortunately, didn't look like it was maybe a little bit of rubbing there, but obviously when you do go on the curb there, the curb is absolutely very high on a Gran Turismo 7, that it really unsettles the car on the exit. So I think it was just for Michael Daly's case, I think it's just wrong place, wrong time for him, and it demotes him down to P9.
Yeah, likely to be a racing incident, that one. I mean, space has to be given on both sides. Whether it was or not will come down to a steward's decision. This is allowing Andrew Entz to get right back up into this battle. Michael Daly's got a bit of work to do. He's got Pautasso ahead of him, and then Brett Allen, who was the one who did that pass at Murray's. But nonetheless, we will see how this battle evolves. It is a battle right now for P7, and it is quite a fierce battle, but especially you've got 4 cars going all in sequence up and down the hill. It can be a bit terrifying, especially if you're one of the cars in the middle. And depending on the constitution of the driver, being in the lead of the battle can be even more terrifying when you see cars coming up behind you, wondering whether or not they're going to make a full confidence send for an attempted overtake. Let's call it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go over to our wanderer up at the top of the hill in Ando Scott. There, obviously, you've been getting a lot of calls from the head gurus, from the head honchos down in the pit lane. What can you tell us about the drivers' strategies? Is it true that we are seeing different compounds between Matt Donetti and Dean Van der Sar as rumoured? Are they on 2 different strategies, those two?
Yeah, we've got some big winners and losers out of the first few laps, folks. I can confirm that IMAT is on the softs, so he took a gamble, or his pit lane took a gamble and told him to put the softs on. He's on the front row, and he really needed to get into the lead to make that work. He has failed to do that, so we've now got Dernity in front of him, who's on the mediums, and he's looking good. So real winners and losers. Obviously, at the back of the field too, we've got a few drivers with damage. We've got Dave Chucky. Poor guy got a little love tap lap 1, turn 1, would you believe? He got sent down the side road into the wall, and he's got rear right suspension. He's making do with that. And as you called it, Blasnik is staying out, even though he's got front aero damage. So he's really leaking oil. He's about to cross the line now for a 2:17 lap time on his mediums. I would have thought his pit wall would have called him in to change onto softs, but they've told him to stay out.
Yeah, that's a very interesting call there. So for both Dave Chucky and Boris Blasnik staying out, obviously they are sticking to plan A, which is obviously what we heard from the Me Cougar supercomputer was about a 9-lap stint on soft tyres, 11 on the mediums, depending what the Lobby 2 drivers will do, whether they will be mirroring that strategy or whether they'll be going for something a little bit different, maybe a 10-10 or an 11-9, depends how good your tyre wear is. But for the likes of Scott Taylor sitting right behind Mitch Collins, he's not looking to put any moves on him whatsoever, George. He's happy to sit back and just watch the race unfold in front of him, because he knows that if he can do this, if he plays a strategy, it'll come back to him. He'll jump Mitch Collins potentially in the pit lane and might be in contention to battle for the lead.
Yeah, I'm getting a flash of deja vu here, because this is exactly what Scott Taylor did to me at Laguna Seca when I was driving the car. It's literally the exact same thing. So I understand the position that Mitchell Collins is in right now, and Mitchell Collins trying to be conservative as well, but there's nothing quite like being pushed along by a really chilled out driver behind you. It's a very unique feeling where you're going, well, I'm not getting the adrenaline rush of having a car right up my bumper, making moves here and there. It's like a lurking alligator or something. It's a very odd feeling to have, but you know that Scott Taylor can push the button at a moment's notice, and suddenly he's ahead of you, or you're making a mistake, and he'll just drive past you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll wait and see what the go is for Scott Taylor. I think the way he's driving, it looks like he'll definitely most likely jump Mitch Collins in the pit lane, obviously with maybe a little bit more fuel under his belt and better tyres next to his lane. But it might be maybe later on, maybe towards the end of the stint, where Mitch Collins' tyres will start to degrade very quickly, and he might be able to pounce there. So we saw Scott Taylor go for a PB lap there with a 2-minute 14.3 versus Collins' 2-minute 14.5, but they are staying very close to each other. They're not making any inroads on the top 2, but we do know Dean Van der Sar, as was predicted, he did go from mediums to soft tyres, and I think it's just a big loser for the Aussie Tyres sponsored CP Motorsports Mazda 3, trying to chase Matt Donetti for the lead of this race here. So two great drivers, 2 great liveries leading the pack 1 and 2. And we have to give a couple of shout outs here as well. Tony Griffin running up in P5. He's in a little bit of no man's land at the moment, but he's doing himself a really good job there just to do his own race. He's not worried about anyone in front or behind. He knows he's got the pace on Mark Hasseldine and Brett Allen in P7. So he's doing himself a really good job to solidify a P5 in this race, but time will tell when the pit strategies come in.
Yep, exactly right. I mean, this is going to be potentially the best result that CP Motorsport will be taking home for Season 3. Dean van der Zart, will that be his personal best result as well if he can stay in the PG position. So, you know, if he doesn't have the pace to get past Matt Dernedy, then at the end of the day, they're going to have to be happy with the P2, and they will be at the end of the day. It'll be their best result of the season. It'll be a good one to take home as well. Bathurst P2, very, very solid. But yeah, I mean, I wonder if maybe working towards their strategy in the opposite direction, starting mediums would have been the better call. Dean van der Zart's obviously got some really good pace on him at the moment. Best lap is a 2:13.560, and yes, that's on soft tyres, but it's still obviously showing some good pace out there for this man. The worry that I have for him now is that whether or not he's going to be fast enough on the mediums to keep out of the clutches of Mitch Collin and GLR Scotty, who, you know, will be on the faster tyre at the end of this race. And that might just create a bit of a tricky situation for Dean van der Zart to be able to hold on to the P2 position. Otherwise, he's going to have to really show some speed on the medium and get it home. Question will be, how long can he make these softs last? That'll really be the thing that dictates whether or not the mediums last with good pace to the end of the race.
Because the thing is as well, he needs to mirror what Matt Dernedy is doing right now, and Matt Dernedy needs to do the exact same thing if the positions change. I think what IMAT is doing in Dean van der Zart, I think he's just trying to save a bit of fuel, manage those soft tyres. That, you know, he's not going for that push lap just yet, as we're seeing also with Scott Taylor. But there he goes, he's about to go for the move. He says he's done waiting. He's going to send it up on the inside of Griffin's Bend. He's going PB there, 0.011 on the fastest lap there. Throws the car into the pit lane, throws the car not into the pit lane, into Griffin's Bend, into turn 2, gets the move done, and that is the position gained ahead of Mitch Collin. Now he's about to run away and run those tyres to the rim, and hopefully get himself closer towards the front at the end of the first stint. So great move there by Scott Taylor, and very good patience there for car 37. And we saw there as well in the background, Tony Griffin's not too far away, so Mitch Collin must have just been holding up Scott Taylor just a little bit, as Scott Taylor thought that he needs to go, that he needs to make the move done, because Tony Griffin was taking out a few tenths on the name of Scott Taylor.
Yeah, wise move by Scotty, guys. A 2:15 wasn't going to cut it, so they've just done a 2:15 on the last lap, and Scotty wants that podium. He wants better than a third place, so he's realising that the top two drivers are getting away from them. And Mitch Collin, for whatever reason, his pace is not good enough. So Scotty's decided to clear him, and he got it done up Mountain Straight. It's a nice move. He's looking better on tyres and fuel than Mitch Collin at the moment.
Yeah, that's exactly what we called as well. So he's going to do his thing now. He's going to start plucking the gears. He's going to start revving the car out just a little bit more. But as we see at the front there, we have Dean van der Zart, who's now pulled the trigger as well. So just like we saw with Scott Taylor pulling the trigger to get P3, we see Dean van der Zart has pulled the trigger of Matt Dernedy and has taken P1 away on this race on lap 7 of 20. Now it's time for Dean van der Zart to put the pedal down and start setting those fastest laps and pull yourself a gap over Matt Dernedy. He leads the race at the end of lap 7, starting lap 8. Matt Dernedy, what can he do in response? Can he stay with him? Can he just hold on for that when he gets to the soft tyres? He can just pass him with ease, or will it be a challenge for the Jim Beam Honey driver, that is the Hasselblad Motorsports, in Matt Dernedy 251, numbered for him and his teammate as well, running very well, Mark Hasseldean in P6, but it is up for Matt Dernedy. What can he do in this stint? What does he do now? And obviously, we'll put you on the spot here. We know Matt Dernedy has lost that lead to IMAT. They know the team has been telling him over the radio that there is a tyre difference. What do you do in Matt Dernedy's head? Do you stay with him? Do you just let him run away? Or do you try and go with him?
I think he's got to stay in his slip now. So I think that pass might have just played perfectly into Dernedy's hands, because he's just going to be able to sit behind IMAT now, who's not really going to be able to pull away because his softs are going to expire soon. So Dernedy's in the box seat now, because he's going to be able to sit here in the slip and save fuel.
Yes, this is what I thought might end up happening if Dean van der Zart was going to get past in these later stages of his stint. And of course, the crossover point between these two tyres is going to rapidly approach Dean van der Zandt. He won't be happy about that at all, I suspect. But he's got to get the move done. He needed to get it done about 6 laps ago. Didn't, unfortunately. A little bit of a side scrape on the barrier there for Matt Dernedy. Going to compromise him a little bit down the straight. And
Might be able to slip here.
Actually, I was about to say, it would be close, but that looks like just over a second. So I don't think Matt Dernedy is going to get any advantage for being behind Dean van der Zandt now.
Could be a crucial error.
That is indeed. So Dean van der Zandt, it does have an opportunity there, but he's only got one more lap on these softs to make it count. He needs to put a few more seconds between him and Dernedy. Otherwise, he is going to find himself rapidly being caught up by soft runners at the end of this race. GLR Scotty and Mitch Collin still locked in a bit of a battle. Scott Taylor is quite happy to have Mitch Collin run in the slipstream as it stands right now. Let's look down the grid quickly as we're heading towards some of the first pit stops.
Sorry,
Mitch Collin. He's
yeah,
gone.
I was about to say, we just saw the back end of Mitch Collin. Where he was here.
Oh, we've had a bit of a microphone error there. But yeah, Mitch Collin looks like out of the chase or just past the second part of the chase complex. He's had a bit of an off there. Andrew Scott, did you have any eyes on that incident?
Yeah, he just caught before the Armoural Bridge there on the exit of the chase. He just put one wheel out onto the grass. Over the curb, and that was enough to send him round and into the wall. Ouch.
Damn it. That's very unlucky there for Mitch Collin. He knows he makes very little mistakes here at Mount Panorama, but one mistake that did cost him was the one that was for the battle for P3 in Lobby 2. So he's demoted down to P6 ahead of his teammate in Chris Pautasso in position 7. That does promote Tony Griffin up into P4, as well as Mark Hasseldean inside the top 5. So very unlucky there for Mitch Collin. He was happy to let Scott Taylor go by it. He was going to sit behind Scott Taylor, as you mentioned, George, just sit behind him and work with him and just maybe save a bit of fuel, maybe just a tiny bit of tyres. But yeah, just one mistake and the mountain bites.
That's it. That's Bathurst for you. That's Mount Panorama. It is such a confident circuit, and that'll hurt the confidence of Mitch Collin as well. But we know how quick he is. He's got a lot of confidence to burn at a place like this. Interestingly, we've had Dave Chucky jump up into P8 in this race. So he's driving very, very quickly at the moment for CP Motorsports. He's right on the back of Chris Pautasso, who's under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, I was going to say yeah, I thought from what we heard with Ando, with our pit lane reporter Ando Scott, he was actually running with damage, but it looks like he doesn't have any damage on the car, and he's got some pace on him. Where's this coming from, Ando?
Yeah, he's got rear right suspension, and his front right tyres looking a little bit worse for wear, but he's making the most of it. He's got himself into P8, even after being sent into turn 1, lap 1. And copping damage. So a real driver of the day candidate here right now.
Certainly is. I mean, that's amazing. And he's been really consistent on the pace as well. Like, other than that first lap, which was a 2:32, which is a little bit further off what you'd expect. Yeah, I know. Now we're staring at the grass now, and that's not the grass that we were staring at, but he did run onto the
That's where Mitch Collin went around. So that was very lucky, because Mitch Collin went around right there.
I thought it was on the inside grass.
Very lucky.
It was on the outside grass for Mitch Collin.
He caught the outside, and then he got sent into the inside.
Oh, my goodness.
He was a passenger by that stage, and he got front suspension and front aero damage. So
what it is, it's Collin Racing Team obviously have a contract with Jim's Mowing to get Bathurst cleaned up a bit. That's the clear conclusion to draw from all this.
Well, he cleaned the grass so that when Chucky went over it, it wasn't so bad for him.
Exactly right. Awesome. So we've got a great battle on for P8. I mean, Dave Chucky, this will be a good result for him. He's in the top 10. He's in P8. And he's staring down the back of Chris Pautasso for a potential P7. Michael Daly in P9, then Andrew Enks for Mad Turtle Racing in P10. Boris Blazenik, after that massive shunt out of Skyline, is now in P11, followed by Brett Allen. So war in the wars and in the walls, sadly, at the moment. Brett Allen not having a good time either. 2:42 on lap 6. I don't think he's come in for a pit yet, has he?
I don't know, like, it's very interesting. That's 2 laps in a row they said 2:42, so maybe he just, I don't know whether he did an out lap, got damaged, and then he had to come back in. Not 100% sure there, but very interesting what's going on there, because he was running as high as P8 at one point, and was challenging for P7 on, I think it was Chris Pautasso and Mark Hasseldean. So if you look at where those two guys are at the moment, that's where he could have been if he kept if he kept the car clean and just kept it on the track there. But what I'm fascinated as well here, and I think what's working to the advantage of Dean van der Sar, he's on lap 10 of 20, George, on soft tyres. I did call it earlier on. He was pretty good on tyre wear, and look what he's doing right now. He's coming into the pit lane, gone that extra lap. He's gone for the 10-10 strategy as well as Matt Donetti, but Matt Donetti has got the fuel advantage of what I thought that Dean van der Sar was going to have a fuel advantage this time round has gone to the hands of Matt Donetti, with probably that was the case of Dean van der Sar just pushing the car just a little bit to get himself a bit of a gap of Matt Donetti. But what happens here? Both drivers are going to swap compounds. Dean van der Sar from softs to mediums, Matt Donetti from mediums to soft tyres. Who comes out of the pit lane first? Who will be battling it out for P1 in this race? Stay tuned, for we're only about 10 laps to go. It's Scott Taylor, Tony Griffin, and Chris Patajak yet to come into the pit lane, but it is this battle that is for the lead of this race. Dean van der Sar and Matt Donetti for P1 in Lobby 2.
Donetti, I thought he would have gone for one more lap. The overcut was begging there. Now he's going to have to get 10 laps out of the softs, which van der Sar's done quite brilliantly.
Oh, they're ghosted inside of each other. This is fantastic stuff. Matt Donetti's going to be right there. He's on the softer compound, though, so he will have the speed advantage. Dean van der Sar will unghost in front of him, still in the lead of this race. Boy, oh boy, this is going to be close. They're going to be side by side in the Griffins. I get the feeling that Dean van der Sar might be having the P1 position retained at this point, but how long will he be able to hold on with those medium tyres? Fascinating to see a 10-10 strategy. Same strategy length, but different tyre there. It's fascinating because we saw the 9 on the softs, 11 on the mediums in Lobby 1 as the predominant strategy. Here, we're seeing 10 on each.
Yeah, and I was about to say that as what Ando was saying, I was not surprised. I was surprised there why Matt Donetti didn't go for an overcut, because he's got pace. He has pace under his belt, and he knew that Dean van der Sar had to go on the medium tyre, so he could have used that 1 lap extra to pull on an overcut and just get ahead of him. But the fuel numbers were so close that they literally came together out of the pit lane. That was absolutely incredible to see. And Dean van der Sar almost lost the lead here, but now the tyres have changed. They're on 2 different compounds of tyres, and will it be Matt Donetti that gets ahead of him?
Yeah, well, here we go, because we've got traffic in front of them, and that is Boris Blazenik, so there will be a little bit of an extra slipstream here for both cars down the Conrod straight, and Boris Blazenik doesn't want any part of it. He wants to be out of it. He's like, I don't want to be anywhere near the battle that's going on behind me. Scott Taylor has come into the pits on his medium tyres, does 11, as we saw in Lobby 1. Both of them will go on through. Boris Blazenik knows exactly what that battle is all about, and he doesn't want a single part of it. They're side by side. It's going to be the outside line for Matt Donetti. It's going to be inside braking, and it's a fantastic bit of braking there from Dean van der Sar. Doesn't want to give it up, but he has lost that position. Matt Donetti beautifully around the outside at the chase. What a move.
Donetti knew that van der Sar had gone deep. He knew that van der Sar was on the mediums, and he gave him the space, and he just whooped around the outside on the soft tyre. Beautiful driving there from Donetti.
That's very smart, because he's got the extra grip on the soft and the outside line. There's only one way to make that work, and that's when you have extra grip.
Well, he could have turned in on van der Sar then, and it could have ended in tears. They could have both been in the grass. So the fact that he elected to voluntarily run deep into the corner and hold it around the outside, that's incredible awareness and really good driving.
Yeah, he's done very well there. So with the outside line, that did turn to the inside line. So for Dean van der Sar, on the outside of the exit of the chase, there is literally no grip at all. That's where all the tire marbles are. And once you get on those marbles, the car just has no grip. You can't fight it. So you have to just get back to single file. And unfortunately for Dean van der Sar, and this has really cost him as well. Fellas, Dean van der Sar soft to mediums, but Matt Donetti at the opening stages of the race was leading when it should have been Dean van der Sar. But now Matt Donetti is leading on lap 12 of 20. He's on the softest compound of tyres. Dean van der Sar's on the mediums. I don't know what's going to happen here, as we see Matt Donetti's gone 4 tenths purple going into the S's and through the dipper. We'll try and see if we can stay on board with Matt Donetti as he completes this flying lap here. Could it be a purple lap? Will it eclipse the lap time that was set by Dean van der Sar on the opening stages of the soft tyres? You can see there his personal best was a 2 minute 13.779 on lap 3, and Dean van der Zande's was a 2 minute 13.56. So it's nothing in it. So the consistency that Matt Donetti's got on those mediums compared to Van der Zandt was absolutely incredible as he comes through the timing sector right now in sector 3, 1 second faster than the fastest lap time set by Dean van der Zandt. So he is absolutely flying the 2:51. I would love to call it as a qualifying lap. He's going full qualifying on this lap there to try and get the fastest lap, get the extra point as he also got pole position. So he's trying to go for a full points haul for Hasselone Motorsport, coming through to Murray's corner for the last time. Let's see how much time he finds in the last corner leading up to the start-finish straight. Where it is right now, that's the normal start-finish straight for the V8 supercars, but here is our timing beam. It is 1.2 seconds faster than Dean van der Zandt. Wow, what a way to slap the face in CP Motorsports.
Yeah,
Absolutely
but he's
massive.
got to get 10 laps. He's got to get 10 laps out of his set of softs.
Yeah,
Because so he's got to pull off the masterclass that IMAT just displayed by making his softs last. So IMAT Van der Zandt's going to let him go here, and he's going to come back at him at the end of the race, I reckon.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, we saw Morgan Davey when he rang the tyres out over 9 laps. He was 2 laps on the red line for those tyres, so he was in struggle town, so to speak, at the end of the race. And Matt Doherty, he obviously wanted to break the slip there as well as setting that fastest lap and taking the points.
Exactly.
But now he'll have to reel it back in a little bit, won't he?
Yes, exactly. So he's done
yeah.
well by.
He has.
It was having time there for a minute. He's got the fastest lap. I think it might be eclipsed by someone when they burn off fuel, but he's definitely breaking the slip there. George was very important because now it's the car behind that's on mediums. Oh no! Something's happened.
Oh, something's happened down the background.
Sorry,
there.
I'm looking a little bit in advance. Someone's gone into the wall out of the dipper there. I think it was a second place driver, IMAT.
Oh, the gap is much bigger. The gap is much bigger.
Bigger.
Sorry, I'm watching a slightly advanced replay here, and IMAT, unfortunately, out of the dipper, had a moment. He's lost a good 3 or 4 seconds, and he's got damage. He's got front aero and front suspension. So there's that awesome contest at the end of this race that was brewing. It's now gone. I think he's going to actually have to pit.
Yeah, he's lost 2 seconds going into sector 3. So the exit of the dipper, so the exit of the Skyline all the way down to the halfway of Conrod Straight is sector 3. He lost 2 seconds in that whole section of track, but he's actually staying out here, Ando. So I think what he's trying to do, he can see the mini-map there. He knows Scott Taylor is right behind because he did see on the leaderboard he is coming. He has soft tyres on his wagon, but Tony Griffin is quite a fair amount away from in P4. So I think what he might be trying to do is he's going to try and stay it out for 7 more laps. Not trying to hold on to the podium. And I think he's going to try and just bring the points to CP Motorsports because we know Scott Taylor, he can be fast, and we know he's fast at 2 minute 13.6. But I think he is running to a number because that's what he does best. He runs to the number, he runs the tyres very well, and who knows if Matt Donetti has an incident up the top of the hill somewhere, just like we saw with Dean van der Zandt, it can happen to anyone. And in this case, unfortunately, it happened to Dean.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tricky one now for Dean van der Zandt. He has to concede that P2 is going to be the best he's going to be able to do in this race now with Matt Doherty on such good pace. I always find, and it's a tricky thing, it's a driver dependent thing. I always find that starting on a slower compound and going to a faster compound reduces mistakes over a stint. What do you guys think about that? Because at the end of the day, if you're moving from a compounded tyre that is faster, then you have to make more of an adjustment as a driver in that second stint for the fact that you're going to have even less grip.
Well, I actually have to disagree with you there, George. I prefer to go from a worn soft to a fresh medium because they both feel about the same.
Interesting.
So then as your stint on the mediums progresses, you get the hang of the car by then. But to go from a worn medium to a fresh soft is really, hard to do because that's a huge pace difference. And if you don't take advantage of that pace difference by being too tentative, then that could cost you a win.
Yeah, so it could be down to maybe it's a slightly easier thing to have that more grip underneath you, but the overall strategy, you have to extract that pace sooner from the faster compound. So the difference there, jumping from the medium to the soft, could cost you in time versus being safer in terms of mistakes made. But, you know, I guess at the end of the day, it just comes down to many factors as to what you start on. And it's a real shame to see Dean van der Zandt unfortunately not able to take advantage of that strategy. We could have seen him still putting a bit of pressure on Matt Durnedy. But now the question is, will Scott Taylor catch up? He's made a bunch of progress that lap on Dean van der Zandt. Across the line, it's a 2:13.3, 2:16 from Dean van der Zandt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very likely that he's going to lose out to Dean van der Zandt's going to lose P2 to Scott Taylor, but it is 6 laps to go, and the gap between those two cars, if we look at it roughly, is looking at about 5 to 6. Is looking at about 5 seconds between them. There's nothing in it. Scott Taylor's still going purple, so he's still finding some good pace on the car, setting some consistent lap times for the 2 minute 13.3. Just not able to get into the 2 minute 12s like we saw with Matt Durnedy, but he knows that the bigger picture is on the other side, and that is P2, and taking that P2 away from the CP Motorsports drive and getting the grid line racing up into P2. He's already taken a victory in season 3 of the Trak Racer TCR Cup last time a few rounds ago at Watkins Glen, and hopefully now he might be able to keep that momentum going, keeping himself on the podium, so that will hopefully propel himself up towards the pecking order in the Drivers' Championship. Maybe not so much for the teams, but he's going to be doing his absolute best to try and push himself up towards that top 5, top 8 in the Drivers' Championship.
Too right. So we'll continue to watch the battles that are occurring in the P1, 2 and 3 spots. Looking down the field, Tony Griffin in P4 having a good race at the moment. This will be his best result.
Go Griffo.
P4. Go Griffo,
He could
indeed.
be looking at a podium. Yeah, he could be looking at a podium here, guys.
Genuinely could be. He's on good pace. 13.7 was that last lap. So he's actually also running about 2.5 seconds faster than Dean van der Zandt right now. This is looking really nice for Mad Turtle Racing and Tony Griffin. And Griffin is one person that we've, he's an absolutely awesome dude. He's races in multiple series out there in the GD7 community. To see him get a good result here would bring me nothing but joy. And we'll come back to that in just a second. Mitch Collin in P5, Pautasso in P6, Mark Hasseldine in P7 at the moment, and starting to chase down Pautasso still. And Andrew Enks, that's Tony Griffin's teammate at Mad Turtle Racing in P8 currently. There's Dave Chucky in P9, has obviously now come in for his pit stop, and he'll be making some progress on Andrew Enks, you'd assume. Then Michael Daly, this is a huge battle. Oh my goodness, what have we just caught on camera there? Michael Daly getting all sorts of out of shape with Boris Blaznik going into the back of him, but then Brett Allen has done a Shane Assard at Forest Elbow and gone straight into the barrier at 90 degrees.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, ouch. And look at his lap time there, for Brett Allen at 2 minute 12.5. So competing with Matt Durnedy. Go Brett Allen. Go you, son. You almost got it. So imagine that. Imagine you lose the fastest lap to the wicked awesome racing driver who's outside of the top 10, and you don't get a full clean sweep there. So Matt Durnedy would have been absolutely fuming if you saw his name wiped from the fastest lap.
And a shame, of course, for Brett Allen as well, because he was on a flyer. He's got incredible pace on the soft tyre, has just come in on lap 12. So he had an extended medium stint there, it looks like. 12 laps on the softs, but just cooked it a little bit too much at Forest Elbow and went in the wall. He'll be carrying damage now.
I would have gone into the pit lane if I was Brett Allen. He knows he's in 12th. He knows he's in last place. He's not going to be battling anyone with damage on the car. You know, come in, put on, fix the car up, put on a fresh set of soft tyres. You've got plenty of those from qualifying into the race. And I would have done the same thing. I would have just said, you know what, time to come in. I'm not battling anyone. Let's go get that fastest lap.
Yeah, he did exactly what Shane Adhard did into Forest Elbow, guys. It's such an off-camber entry into it, isn't it? It's a little kink to the right, then you've got to be heavy on the brakes. And these cars have to have their brake bias to the rear because they're trying to look after their fronts, obviously. And with that rear brake bias, if your car's still drifting left as you get onto the anchors, you're going to lose the tail of the car, and it's going to try and turn right into the wall. And that's exactly what happened to Souls.
Yeah,
Scott Taylor's on the move there.
Oh, he is indeed. Oh, yes, he is. We'll come back to that discussion in just a moment because we all love that corner for us.
Oh, Van der Zandt's got damage.
Van der Zandt, he will do, from that incident at Skyline.
Yeah, absolutely. And Scott Taylor has gone through. He has taken P2. He has taken P2 away,
wasn't it? Yeah. So he's
absolutely.
Yeah, Van der Zandt's he's done a 15.6 last lap, so he's picked up the pace a little bit, but he's leaking oil big time because Scotty's looking good on fuel, good on tyres. He's doing low 13s. He's just going to drive away with it now for P2, I think.
Yeah, he's a bit too far behind Matt Donetti in position 1, so he's gonna solidify P2. Tony Griffin could be another option here with 4 laps to go. I think the gap is a bit too big between himself and Dean Vanderser, but you know, it is Bathurst. Never say never. There are some opportunities that could be thrown around here. You know, we have seen it in Lobby 1. There have been a couple of 2.5-second penalties when it comes to track limits, especially at the dipper and then coming up towards this corner going into the cutting as well. So
Tony
anything can happen.
Griffin's got more fuel. He's got soft tyres that are fresh, and Van der Zandt in front has got less fuel, medium tyres, and he's got damage. So this is not over.
No, I was going to say we have to take a rather panoramic view of the race at this point because anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
It can all change up rather quickly. If
It is a big gap, though.
Yeah, if he can stay in the 215s, there's a potential for him to hold on to it, and he needs to do that for CP Motorsport. Needs to get that P3. We'll be hoping to get a best result for CP Motorsports here, but I mean, Tony Griffin, it'll be the best result for him, and Mad Turtle Racing as well for a P3, so it's really all on. I want to take us quickly back to the conversation at Forest Elbow, because we all have some unfinished thoughts about that corner. And I just want to say, when you get that, the left gets loaded up. That's how it works. You go into the corner, the left side of the car gets loaded up, and then when you start to get on the brakes, well, what happens? The right-hand side of the car gets loose. So suddenly you've got no grip on the the right-hand side of the car, and then of course the car just tends to go that direction. That's just how it goes.
The temptation is just to widen out for the entry into forests, whereas you really have to brake in a straight line, diving straight at the apex. That's what all the aliens do. That's fast guys do. They don't worry about staying out wide, because if you try to get out wide, you'll do what what Dids and Souls have done. Exactly. So it's a real technique corner, and it's one of the most challenging corners in all of GT7, I believe.
Yeah, we have seen a few incidents in the past in the real world supercar series where we saw Tim Slade in 2021 when he signed for Blanchard Racing Team. He actually had a big accident there where he was fighting for P4 in the Bathurst 500 during the pandemic era, and as well back down in 2020 where we saw Scott McLaughlin as well have himself a bit of a kerfuffle going down into that corner as well. So it is very tricky, not just in the sim racing world, but in the real world. So it is a very unique corner there. I think one of the other parts of the track that is very unique as well here is especially getting through Reed Park and all the way up to McPhillamy. Even though it is single file, it is about trying to extract the maximum speed that you can from these cars, really running the cars right up towards the wall there, get yourselves the maximum input that you can get. As we're going to get ourselves an onboard with Tony Griffin, so I can see what I mean here, so the viewers can at home will see what I mean there. You're running up right against the wall here on the left hand side. You want to be trying to turn the car in as early as you can, just clip the apex there and then run the car wide. And then it's this section here. You don't realize it until you actually go to the track itself. It is absolutely steep going into the grate and then coming up towards this uphill section where we see the crowds cheering up at McPhillamy Park and then down towards Skyline. If you get yourself the right line going into the grate and up in towards Solomon then McPhillamy, that's rewarding in itself, because you know you can get the car right to the right hand side, just clipping the grates and then full send, full throttle up towards McPhillamy.
Yeah, this is why I love, one of the reasons why I love Bathurst, and it doesn't matter what the platform is, doesn't matter if it's in the sim world or the real world. At the end of the day, your driver knowledge and technique around the tires, what they're doing, the weight transfer, where the car's weight is sitting, whether it's forward or behind, things like you will get less acceleration up a hill, managing the revolutions properly. And then also things like, I mean, as you said, up through Solomon Park, it's really, really steep there. It certainly is. Oh, little moment there for Tony Griffin. But what happens is the car gets pushed into the ground, so you've actually got quite a lot of grip at your disposal through that section. Then you come down the hill where you're dealing with lack of grip. And this is the thing, 174 meters of elevation change at this circuit. So you have to know your physics of driving to maximize your pace at a circuit like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to mention the camber.
Oh, and not to mention the camber, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realise this is a two-way public road, 7 days a week when there's not a race meet on. So this road, like every other road in the country, it slopes towards the outside from both sides. Yep. So on every single corner around here, there's a little groove on the inside of the track that you need to be on. Otherwise, you're on the outside in the marbles with negative camber, And Griffin's Bend's a great
I
example.
was about to say Griffin's Bend is exactly the perfect example of that.
And you know, you do not want to be out there on the outside. It's not the fastest way round. So, you know, turn one, the last corner, it's all about finding that little groove, because at the apex, you don't really want to touch the curb at the apex. You want to be as close to it without touching it as possible. So it really is a very, very complicated, very technical track, this one, because of the fact that it's a public road.
Absolutely, and I want to give a few honorable mentions here before we get to the conclusion of this race. Chris Pautasso is sitting up in P6, just defending off from Mark Hasseldine. I think this is going to be definitely his best result. We've seen a bit of an up and down form for Colin Racing Team, but as I did say earlier in the broadcast, Mitch Collin is in love with this track. Unfortunately, that incident that he had running wide on the exit of the chase has demoted him down to P5. So if that was the case here, he could have potentially been fighting up for a podium. So it's all about the what ifs and what could have been for Colin Racing Team. But I think they'll be very happy. I think it is their best performance today. It is a good points haul, and they're going to try and get themselves up towards that pecking order, at least in just sitting outside the top 10, as we see that Chris Pautasso has gone too deep into the went a little bit too deep into Forest Elbow, which is giving Mark Hasseldine the slipstream coming down Conrod straight on lap 19 of 20.
Guys. Yeah, his front right's gone.
There you go.
He's a sitting duck here, unfortunately.
So he's hugging going defensive. He's keeping Mark Hasseldine at bay. Runs too deep into the corner there, clips the grass there. Mark Hasseldine with the switchback of days. Goes for an ambitious move there. Wow. What a move there from Mark Hasseldine. That just shows you what some good racecraft is. Chris Pautasso is not giving up. He wants to fight it. They're still battling it out. And this is for P6 of the race, ladies and gentlemen. We get excited for P1, but down the middle, down the pack,
Hasseldine got a penalty there.
Oh,
I think we found a new place to get a penalty on this track. I didn't know it existed. But on the exit of the chase, he got really aggressive, didn't he, on the inside just before the Armorall Bridge. And he went onto the grass. Yeah, he wanted the switchback. He went onto the grass and got himself a penalty.
Oh, so brave, though. I mean, I love that maneuver. I've seen it in real life
Gutsy
GT3
move,
racing. We've seen it in supercars racing. It takes a lot of confidence to do that. And what a switchback that would have been without the penalty. I mean, just the confidence to send it like that. He wanted that P6 position. Unfortunately, it's cost him this time. I didn't know you could get a penalty there. It's absolutely new.
Never seen one.
Fresh news off the press right now. For that, we're on the last lap of the race, so this battle will continue. At the moment, Mark Denedy is absolutely running away with things. Then GLR Scotty in P2 and Dean Van der Zart in P3. But look how close things have gotten.
I was going to say, the battle for P3, it is on. I thought it was over, but Tony Griffin is right underneath the rear wing of Dean Van der Zart. He's probably one lap too short now. He'll get one more lap, he definitely would have got on the podium. But Tony Griffin, wow, what a match, what a man of the match performance it is for the man, almost getting onto the podium, but it isn't over. He's got one long straight here, right up towards the chase. He is closing. He's closing, and he's closing very fast. Can he get himself up into P3 with only a handcuff of corners? We did miss Matt Denetti crossing the start-finish line, but it is the battle for P3. What can Tony Griffin do as it comes down towards Murray's corner for the last time? Scott Taylor takes P2, and just Dean Van der Zart holds on to P3. Tony Griffin runs it wide. He's showing that he was fighting tooth and nail to get that P3, and we saw it evident on the exit of Murray's corner. Gave it his all, almost, but unfortunately it is P4 for Tony Griffin, and Dean Van der Zart just holds on to P3. But we can't take our eyes away from the man that has won his first race here at the Trak Racer TCR Cup. It is Matt Denetti for Hassel 1 Motorsport. That, like we were saying early in the week, that the press was basically on him at the end of Daytona, saying that they should hear that why he didn't wait one more lap to make a move on the Cooke driver to try and take the victory at Daytona. But he shook that off and said, I was happy with P2. I'm going to come back here at Mount Panorama and I'm going to go for it all. And he has done so far. 55 points, fastest lap, victory and pole position. So he takes a full points haul here for round 7 in Lobby 2. Scott Taylor in position 2. Dean Van der Zart just holding on to P3. And Tony Griffin ever so close, and he almost got it. But he holds on to P4. Mitch Collin, Chris Patajak on the rim, as reported by Ando in P6, and Mark Hasseldine in position 7. So Hasseldine in Mark Hasselone Motorsport in 1st and 7. So that's a great result for the team. Andrew Ents, David Chucky, Boris Blaznik, after what was a disaster race for him, but he kind of holds on. He still holds on to P10. Michael Daly, a very interesting one there. He was running pretty high in that early phase of the race, running up as high as P7 at the moment, then drops down to P11, unfortunately. And Brett Allen for Wicked Awesome Racing down in P12. I still think he should have come into the pit lane, thrown a fresh set of boots, and gone for the fastest lap to not give Matt Donetti a full points haul.
Yeah, and he would have gotten he had a lot of pace. I think he would have gotten that fastest lap. I mean, regardless, what a race from Lobby 2 is.
What a
Absolutely stunning work out there, and some really interesting strategy calls, really interesting execution, a lot of unfortunate accidents in Lobby 2 as well. We have got a lot to digest on the back of these results for both Lobby 1
you know
and
what they
Lobby
say.
2.
You know what they say, George. You know what they say, George. It doesn't matter if it's Division 1, Division 2, Lobby 1, Lobby 2. It's always that is always Lobby 2, Division 2 that always throws the excitement that we've been seeing it throughout the whole Trak Racer TCR Cup. So we love Lobby 2. I know, it's absolutely incredible.
I don't know, there's something about Lobby 2/Division 2. We don't have divisions in the current format, but Lobby 2 really showed us quite the race today. Very excited about that.
Who needs aliens?
Exactly.
Who
We
needs
just need
aliens?
good TCR racing, and this is why we love this TCR setup. The format is brilliant, the cars are brilliant, and the drivers put on the show that we want to see. So we hope that everyone in chat has also enjoyed. Start thinking about your driver of the day, Nick and Andrew, and also in chat, I've got a small replay to show us before we jump into that. So let's just jump back momentarily to what was an incredible attempted overtake here by Mark Hasseldine on Chris Patajak. So into the chase that we went. Let's see it again. Patajak's wide, and there it is. There it is. Oh, it's a pixel. He put 3 tires on the grass. That was what it was. That's
I
where
will
it
say
happened.
there could have been a little bit of a love tap under brakes there into the chase, though. But anyway, Rubbing's racing, and like he explored the limits of the track, and thanks for that, mate. I didn't know you could get a penalty there. Now I know.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Mark Hasseldine has taught us all a lesson today. One that he will rue, I'm sure, but still a very solid result for him in P7. Okay, let's talk driver of the day today. I have to admit, I'm still struggling with this a little bit. Big honorable mention for Matt Donetti for me, because really, really good overall. He got the fastest lap. He got the race win. Stunning work there. I think my driver of the day is going to go to Scott Taylor for a paced, considered race with no mistakes. And that is, to me, what takes a good driver through a race at Bathurst. So my driver of the day is Scott Taylor. Nick, let's throw it over to you.
Oh my goodness, so many honourable mentions. If I had to say Bunnings trade pass overtake of the week, it would have to be Mark Hasseldine. But unfortunately, he got that half-second penalty, so it kind of disqualifies him from getting overtake of the week. Otherwise, that would have been etched on the wall, on his sim wall, and he would have just taken pictures of that to be like, what could have been for that move for P6. But honorable mentions, I will go for Tony Griffin. He did have a very good race there, and Scott Taylor, but I am going to have to give it to Matt Donetti. And the reason why I'm giving it to Matt Donetti, he was in the headspace of Dean van der Zandt in that first stint. He did not let him go through. They saw the tyre change at the last minute. Dean van der Zandt was on the mediums, but he thought, let's go for it. Let's go on the soft tyres. He went for the soft tyre strategy, and Matt Donetti was in his head, and he didn't let him through in that first stint. Only let him through with only a few laps to go before the soft tyres were actually about to be worn out. So he held on for 7 laps. He lost out in 3, and they basically came out within each other, within a nose and a front bumper and rear bumper going into Griffin's Bend. So I think I'm going to have to give it to Matt Donetti for playing the mind games with Dean van der Zandt for Hasselone Motorsport's first victory in the Trak Racer TCR Cup. I think it's well deserved.
All right, Andrew Scott, let us know your thoughts, please.
Yeah, my honourable mention is going to go to Dernity because started on pole, executed his strategy well, and a well-deserved maiden victory there for Matt in Lobby 2. But I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here. I'm going to give an equal driver of the day to GLR Scotty and Tony Griffin for their just sort of staying out of trouble way that they went about business today. They both made up 2 positions on the grid. They were at the front, the pointy end of the grid after quali. They both made up 2 positions. They stayed out of the trouble. They used the car in front beautifully. And yeah, I'm going to give, if you can, equal driver of the day to both of those guys.
All right, we're going to have to discuss the rule book here in the commentary box about how we assign driver of the day, I think. Is that a point
you're gonna have to
5 or is that...
You add up the points. What are the how do the points look, guys?
Well,
what's the spread?
Well, chat, you do let us do tell us who you think out of those 3 well-deserving drivers. Will it be Scott Taylor that gets that extra half point? Will Tony Griffin go for the 1.5 points, or will it be Matt Donetti? Just let us know in the chat. But I think that was probably easy. One of the best Mount Panorama races we've seen in the Trak Racer TCR Cup. We have had some great racing in the past, but this one really topped it off, especially towards the end there, and the mind games that Hassel 1 Motorsport played on CP Motorsports. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. So it's a very equal split right now. We've got Dernity with a couple of points, but technically 1.5 points. I don't know. Chat, let us know. You are the deciding factor in this at the end of the day. Everyone had a fantastic race in Lobby 2. So, well, for the most part, it was a very exciting race to watch. So, okay. Lobby 1, Lobby 2, well done. Congratulations on round 7. We do get to announce that Cooke Driver Development Team has taken out the team's title in round 7 for season 3. So, Andrew Scott, a big congratulations to yourself. You have an opportunity right now, because you're in the comms box with us, to say a few words if you'd like to.
Yeah, no, thanks, guys. Yeah, really great. Really pleased to have pulled off that 3-peat. Especially in the with the talent that this season brought. And I'd just like to say to my teammate Mick Hill, who's in hospital recovering right now, thanks for his efforts over the last 3 seasons, and I hope you get well soon, mate. And the Cooke party bus is parked outside Bathurst Base Hospital ready to pick you up, mate. Let's go, let's hit it.
There we go. Excellent. So we also have to say that Steph Branson does look to be in the position to take the Drivers' Championship, but as at the time of this recording, we're a little bit unsure as to whether he has, so we will leave that for an announcement in round 8 here on the stream. You might find some extra information in the MotorMotion E-Series paddock on Facebook. There may be a news article coming out about it at some point soon. Nonetheless, it's all still to play for, certainly from P2 down in the Drivers' Championship, and that same goes for the team's title, P2 down, still up for grabs. We shall see. That was the penultimate round there at Bathurst, and now for round 8, next week, we do go to the legendary course in Japan. It is Suzuka to round things out. Another 20-lap race coming up for us then. We are very much looking forward to seeing what Suzuka will produce, because that is yet another very complicated, very tricky track for the drivers to navigate in these Mazda 3 Group 4 cars. So let's, well, we've got a graphic for that, so I might as well just put it up. I've just been sitting on that graphic for a whole bunch of time. There we go, round 8, Suzuka Circuit coming up on the 9th of July for the drivers, and the delayed broadcast a little while after that. So that is going to be our broadcast here tonight for round 7. We're so excited to watch, and we're going to take away a lot of memories, I think, of what we've seen today. Some final comments from Nick and Andrew before we jump back to me for a couple of housekeeping items, and then the stream will be done. So Nick, how was that for you today?
Oh my goodness! If I could just camp here at Bathurst like everyone does, I would. I would just literally just pitch up a tent here in the commentary box. I would just lock the doors, change the padlock, and I'll just stay here like all day long, because what a fantastic round we had here at the Trak Racer TCR Cup. Both lobbies putting on some great performances, some different strategies as well. Drivers going for some different strategies, soft to mediums, medium to softs. We even saw the 10-10. Strategy in Lobby 2 that worked very well for Matt Donetti. Unfortunately, didn't work for Dean van der Zand, but we had some great racing all around. Full credit to the drivers that race around Mount Panorama in these Mazda 3s. I tried to do 2 laps in it, and I couldn't even get anywhere near a 2-minute 12 or a 2-minute 10 that we saw with Morgan Davies. So they've definitely got something on me when it comes to that pace. But the next round is Suzuka Circuit, equally equal first, I would say, in my opinion, as one of my favorite tracks in the racing world, Suzuka Circle. What a brilliant track that is. And it's going to be very demanding on the front tires, so we could potentially be seeing an alternative strategy, maybe a two-stopper around Suzuka with a lot of twisty turns, a lot of demand with the front tires. 20 laps around there. I'm very excited, but we'll bring that to you guys. It is a finale. We cannot wait. It's been a great season 3 of TCR Cup. And Ando, I don't know about you, good sir, but obviously you are going to be partying very hard. Are you actually going to make the race? Because with all the partying that you're planning to do, will you actually be able to make the journey to Suzuka?
Oh, sorry. I'll just put the mowie down, and yeah, no, it's the partying has started, but we'll be there. We'll be there for sure. But I'd just like to say, from myself personally, thank you to my 2 super subs, Ridwan Hamza and Robert Foster, for helping me, Cougar, get there in the end with I think maybe a round to spare. But also thanks to the MotorMotion admin for putting on yet another awesome series. And finally, special thanks to you two blokes. I mean, this has been fun. I really enjoy what we do every weekend when we get together to stream. And I really do appreciate you two guys giving up your time on the weekends to do this.
And likewise to yourself, Andrew, Scott, and of course, Nick. It's always been a good amount of fun here in the commentary box, but we'll leave the goodbyes and the thank yous to next week, where we will have a whole bunch to do. And a big thank you, of course, to Scott Taylor in the background organising things, and Dylan Scarborough as well. So that is going to be our broadcast tonight. Nick and Andrew, thank you so much. Chat, thank you so much as well. Remember to give us a like and subscribe on the channel. It does massively help us with the old YouTube algorithm. We look forward to next week, but of course, we do have to say, jump onto www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com for all the news articles and sign-ups. The Carrera Cup Season 2 will be kicking off soon, and we do obviously have that announcement around the GT3 Championships too, so a lot of teams will be returning for that. Get involved, get onto the paddock, and we will see you in there for what is one of the best GT7 communities out there in the world. So we'll leave you with that, but a big thank you to everyone. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you back here for the next broadcast. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time here at the MotorMotion E-Series.